Alright, so hello everyone. Also, this needs to be a 16:9 layout. Let me, Okay, there we go. Alright. Hey everybody, so now that that's all figured out, let's go ahead and get this show on the road in 3, 2, 1, video games. Alright, so if you've never ever played this game before or seen speedruns of it before, which I don't blame you if you haven't, so the way any percent in this game works is very similar to its predecessor, Galaxy 1, as well as Super Mario 64, where in order to actually complete the game, you need a set amount of stars to meet certain requirements. So, in this game, the magic number is 70 in order to unlock a Bowser's Galaxy Generator, which is the final level in the game. And then from there, collecting the Grand Star will actually allow me to access the end credits. So, in essence, you could sort of consider this a 71-star run. So, the run starts with about a 2.5-minute prologue segment. There isn't really a whole lot going on here, except we get the Master Luma, which gives us the ability to spin, which is kind of the core mechanic of the Galaxy games. And we got one of the first minor time saves of the run coming up here. Nice. So, in Galaxy 1, you actually have the ability to climb up slopes using various controller inputs. They patched both of those exploits in this game. But whenever you land on a slope with a high amount of speed, if you jump within the first few frames of landing on the slope, you can actually maintain that speed. And so you'll see me go for a few of those slope boosts all throughout the run. And if you're wondering why the game is in Japanese and what the unrestricted bank denotation in the category means, don't worry, that will all be explained shortly. Yeah, there's not a whole lot going in this intro cutscene, but it's gonna kick up the pace here pretty quickly. So coming up is there's actually potential for me to get a small little time saver in terms of the text boxes. So whenever there is a set of text boxes that has more than 3, if you spend a little bit of time on the first 2 and then get the third one frame perfect, you can actually skip any text box that comes after that. So one of these sets of text boxes from these Lumas is supposed to have 5, and I'm just going to kind of mash through here and see what happens. Alright, I'm not getting it. So, yeah, those are all 5 text boxes, but if I waited a little bit on the first 2 and then got either the third or the fourth ones frame perfect, I would have skipped either 2 or 1 text boxes respectively. And that can actually save like a second or 2, but it does require a frame perfect inputs in 60 frames per second, so not always reliable. And with that, we're going to be heading on into the first level of the game, Sky Station 1. Where, like I said, the action kicks up pretty much right from the get-go. So I'm gonna kind of wall jump up here to skip going to the bottom half of this planet. And then if I stand still before that cutscene, then that cutscene will actually end about half a second earlier. So that's a time save right there. And so the spin mechanic is pretty useful because since it can give you more height from your spin, you're able to scale walls that you would not normally be able to. It's a pretty broken mechanic. So like that. And then here we have another pretty difficult trick. Should be fine. Alright, nice. That was a little weird, but it worked. So that was Luma Bounce. So basically, by doing a homing ground pound off that Luma, I was able to enter the gravity field of the planet that its launch star normally takes you to. So that only saves about like 1 second, and messing it up equals death, but it's honestly not that hard of a strat, and it's early on in the run, so it's worth going for. So, and then you just saw me on that planet collect the first Comet Medal of the run. There is 1 Comet Medal in every galaxy, and again, I'll explain what those do as we go up through the run and they start to become important, but just know that I'm going to try to collect as many of those as I can. Okay, so here's the first boss fight in the game, Pee-wee Piranha. You're intended to spin at Pee-wee's shell about 2 or 3 times in order to break the shell, but you can actually break it in just a single ground pound. Okay, so unfortunately Pee-wee kind of ran away from me, but luckily I had some star bits saved up so that I could stun him. This second hit's a lot easier because Pee-wee doesn't try to run away as quickly. so you can get that hit instantly. And with that, that is going to be the first star out of 71. And I should probably go ahead and mention that if you're new to speedruns of this game does have a lot of downtime. There's usually anywhere from about 45 seconds to a minute between stars, depending on the part of the game we're at. And it's mostly just kind of filled with dialogue and cutscenes and whatnot. But I'd say the actual gameplay you get to see more than makes up for it. So here we've got some text exposition from this purple Luma named Lubba. And then here's the reason why I'm actually playing on Japanese. It's because, when you can hold A to make text scroll quicker in this game, but if you're playing on the Japanese version, text actually scrolls even faster. And that's actually not all. I'm actually playing on the Japanese Wii U VC, or Wii U Virtual Console release of the game, and it's been region unlocked so that you can play it on any region of Wii U. And so what that adds is the VC portion of that actually benefits in terms of loads. So all in all, playing on a Japanese Wii U Virtual Console saves about a minute, give or take, over if you were to be playing on an English disc. It isn't the fastest version, but it is the fastest accessible version. Alright, so, for example, on that segment of text boxes, I was able to save roughly about 5 seconds alone from text, which is really, really nice. So I was just kind of skimming through some of that dialogue there. It wasn't really important, and obviously it's in Japanese, so you can't read it unless you speak Japanese. So now we're going to be heading on to this world map where we'll be able to go from galaxy to galaxy to collect stars. And I'm actually going to be heading back to Sky Station to get the second main mission, or Sky Station 2. Oh, messed up a little bit on text there. So one thing you're going to see me do on almost every star select menu is I'm going to point my Wii Remote off screen and then just mash A. And if there is a clear star on the menu, which is basically a star that hasn't been collected yet, then it will automatically select the first one in line there. Some stars I am going to have to manually point at the screen and select, but for the most part I'll be doing that. So I have a pretty tight chomp cycle to make at the start of this planet here. Nice. And then the movement around this planet is going to be a little bit weird to you because of the way this curvature affects the gravity. It's actually not faster to just long jump all the way around until right there. So that's another thing to keep in mind, is that movement in this game is actually a lot more complicated than you might think. It may just seem like here it's just a bunch of long jumps, but there's way more to it than meets the eye. I have to play pretty well on this planet because the elevators inside here are cycle-based. Okay, so I accidentally grabbed that 1-up. That actually doesn't really matter. So when you grab your first 1-up in this game, you get that little introductory text box to it, but I could have skipped it there, but I would have just ended up grabbing another 1-up later in the run anyways, so that doesn't actually matter. It just means that later when I would normally grab the 1-up, that text box won't appear. So these last couple planets, I'd say, are pretty self-explanatory. So I'll go ahead and talk about one of the major bits of tech that exists in the Galaxy games that you actually might not notice at first if you're just watching. So whenever I land from a launch star, you're probably going to notice that the camera kind of twitches and there's a little bit of a click noise. So what I'm doing there is going into first-person mode and then exiting it as soon as possible. And what this does is it enables Mario to move immediately after landing from the launch star. Normally there's this 1-second landing animation that has to take place, but by doing these camera cancels you can move right away, and it ends up saving quite a lot of time over the course of the game, because obviously you take a lot of launch stars. And there is a second way of doing landing animation cancels where you jump within a 1 to 2 frame window upon landing from the landing animation, and this is more widely usable because there's a lot of areas where you can't go into first person mode, but it's a 1 to 2 frame window in 60 frames per second, so you're probably not going to... I'm not going to be going for it super often. I'll only really be going for it at the start of various stars during the fly-in cutscene. So so now we're going to be heading off to Yoshi Star Galaxy, and if you've never seen a speedrun of this game, you are in for a nice treat, because Yoshi is the most broken thing in this entire game, because there is a really, really big glitch we are able to abuse with Yoshi in this game, and I'll kind of hold off on explaining it a little bit, but there is, using this glitch, I'm going to be going for a skip here that saves about 20 seconds if you get it, but loses about 45 if you miss it. And it is somewhat tight, so hopefully I don't lose time to it. So you'll get a little bit of the demonstration of the glitch here. So I need to focus here. Alright, nice, we got it first try. So the glitch in turn, if you couldn't figure it out, that's called infinite fluttering. And the way it works is that you're able to crouch in midair during a flutter. And you can't normally chain flutters together that quickly because there's this 1 second cooldown that has to take place. But by doing that midair crouch, you can actually cancel both the flutter animation and the cooldown time, and then immediately begin fluttering again. And you can do this as many times as you want, with some restrictions. But for the most part, you can use it to cross a lot of wide distances that you wouldn't normally be able to. And as you just saw there, you can also use it to gain quite a bit of height. And there's a lot of nuances to how this trick works. But basically, anytime I get on Yoshi, I'm going to want to infinite flutter, because it's typically just the fastest way of movement. Because in this game, backwards momentum is superior to forwards momentum, and by fluttering slightly sideways while also slightly in the direction of Yoshi's back, you can get the fastest movement speeds like that. Don't worry about that buzzing, that's just another noise in the house. So now I'm going to be heading off to Yoshi Star 2, which contains probably one of the biggest uses of infinite flutter in the run. So in Yoshi Star 1, I used infinite fluttering to skip one planet and save about 20 seconds. And this level, I'm going to use it to skip basically the entire level and save somewhere close to a minute. This flutter isn't nearly as precise as the previous one I did, but there is an awkward camera change midway through that I'm going to have to keep track of, so let's just see how it works. I'm basically just going to long jump straight to the first Yoshi egg and then infinite flutter. And there we go, that's the level. Of course, now we still have to fight Diggle Egg here. So Diggle Egg is a boss that relies around the pointer, because you have to eat spinies and then aim them and shoot them at Diggle Egg, which can be not fun if you have a very crappy sensor bar. Fortunately, mine seems to be working fine today. And then while I have downtime here, I'm going to go ahead and grab this checkpoint here. So, unlike Galaxy 1, in Galaxy 2, there are actually physical checkpoint flags that you need to touch. Otherwise, you will lose progress if you die. So, you may see me go out of my way occasionally to grab a checkpoint or two just to play it safe. Alright, so that might have seemed weird, but what I was doing there is setting up the spinies in such a way so that I could keep a spiny in Yoshi's mouth for the third phase here. And I can shoot it out as soon as it becomes vulnerable and hit him. If I didn't do that, I'd have to wait for Diggle Egg to shoot out extra spinies, and that would have taken even more time. So that's another pretty nice time save you got there. And there we go. So as we go through the early portion of this run, the amount of galaxies and stars I'm going to have access to will be pretty limited, but especially in the early game. But once I get into like mid-game, it's really, really going to broaden out. But for now, we're kind of stuck on a linear path here. So now we're going to head off to SpeedGaming Galaxy, where we'll be introduced to the first of Mario's power-ups in this game. This is a new one by the name of the Spin Drill. So the gimmick with the spin drill is that, kind of as the name implies, whenever you're above a patch of dirt on a planet and you spin, you can drill into the dirt, and if there's dirt on the opposite side of the planet, you'll pop out on that side. So you're intended to use that gimmick a lot in this first star, but it's pretty easily skippable in a lot of places. For example, here, instead of actually using the drill, I can just triple jump up to where I need to go. Easy as that. And then there's going to be a lot of pretty cool stuff on this next planet here. So first, I'm going to use another homing ground pound to get some momentum on the spin drill. So a homing ground pound, you saw me do this for Luma Bounce earlier. It's basically just a spin followed immediately by a ground pound, and it will home in on the nearest item, enemy, or NPC. And you can get that little bounce off it to get some momentum. I gotta go out of my way there to get that Comet medal. Okay, so by jumping into the corner of that pillar, I'm actually kind of able to clip inside of it, and that just saves me a couple seconds of walking. Okay. Now, you probably noticed throughout this run so far that I've been shooting out star bits whenever I have them in my inventory, other than saving them for very specific purposes, and that I've been avoiding coins whenever I can. So with very few exceptions, whenever you complete a star, if you have coins or star bits in your inventory, there will be text boxes that count them down. And with the exception of a few stars, getting those text boxes loses time, so I want to minimize the amount of times I get those text boxes. However, there I needed star bits to shoot Captain Toad in the face, because normally when you land on that planet, he actually has a few boxes of dialogue, but you can go into first-person mode and shoot him in the face to skip that. And here we have Diggle Egg. So this boss is one of the first real instances of RNG in the run. It's normally not too significant, but it can be a waste of up to several seconds. So I'm going to press myself up against Diggle Egg here. Alright, nice. That's good RNG. So you want him to jump on top of you there, because then he'll jump straight to the other side of the battlefield and immediately becomes vulnerable, like that. That was actually also an optimal first phase, because you also want to keep those yellow Digga enemies alive, so that he won't try to spawn anymore. And I got perfect RNG. That's very, very good, and also pretty rare. Okay, I really hope this one doesn't kill me. Okay. That was a really, really good Diggle Egg. I only had to have one extra Digga spawn on the second phase, and I got perfect RNG. Usually kind of rare that you get that. And you can just drill to the other side of the planet to get the star instead of walking around. Now, there are certain stars in the game where when you collect them for the first time, they trigger events on the Starship Mario, which is this big hub world I'm on. For example, this star is going to take me to the bottom of the starship, so Lubba can introduce an NPC to me. Now, pretty much all of the time, these NPCs and other things have absolutely nothing to do with progressing the game. So, once the purple idiot here finishes talking, we'll just head straight back to the yellow button so he can head to the world map. That's basically the goal anytime I'm on the starship here. Okay. Now we're going to move forward in World 1 to Right Side Down Galaxy. So this is a pretty fun galaxy because the gravity fields are constantly switching between the floor and the ceiling here. There's a lot of really nice shortcuts you can use in this level, thanks to mostly just convenient object placement. There's a couple other cool strats you'll get to see me attempt here. So for starters, there's this really cool backflip at the start of the level here that if I do it right, I can get down to this bottommost flower. Nice. And then right here, I'm actually supposed to hit a lever to switch the direction of gravity, but instead I'm going to long jump to this item block, and then I can actually jump from this item block all the way down to where I'm supposed to go. And there's another slope boost I'll attempt here. Nice. And then similarly here, there's another gravity lever I'm supposed to hit, but these platforms are conveniently placed right next to where I need to go. So that's really helpful as well. And then here we're going to get Fire Mario, and we're going to break through some boxes. I'm going to try to skip breaking some of these boxes, These are pretty precise. Right, nice, I got that first one. The window to get these is way tighter than it looks. And if you miss them and get crushed, it is an automatic death regardless of how much health you have, because getting crushed in this game automatically kills you. And then here, you're actually supposed to be able to go up here because there's one-ups in the four corners, but you can also use it to just kind of skip that entire section and then awkwardly pull yourself into the 2D gravity. So yeah, a lot of really cool stuff happening in that star. So I'm gonna re-enter right side down now in order to get the Galaxy's secret star or hidden star. So this star isn't gonna show up as a clear star on the menu, so I am gonna have to point it right side down 1 to reselect it. But I'll also be able to skip the level intro cutscenes since I've already seen them for right side down 1. So that's gonna save a bit of time. And right there is a place where Wii U VC actually does save like a second or so of loads. So that's kind of nice to point out. And again, here I'm supposed to hit a gravity switch to get into that pipe, but you can just jump into it pretty easily. And then here we have the first of 2 box burning mini-games. So here this Gearmo wants me to burn all these boxes within a time limit. It's very similar to the trash blowing up mini-games from Galaxy 1. And this is actually quite a bit harder to do than it looks, both casually and in speedrunning. This is not too good so far. Okay, I barely got an 11 there. That's decent-ish. My best is a 13 on the in-game timer when that's done, but you can do better than that even. That's a very hard minigame to do optimally. So that'll be it for right side down. So, I mentioned earlier that I'm not going to be collecting any star bits in any levels unless I need them to do an exploit or whatever. So you're probably wondering, well, where am I going to get my star bits from for the run? Well, I'll just say, keep this Toad in mind for later, and about a little under 20 minutes from now he's going to become useful. But I won't spoil anything yet. And now we're going to be heading on to Fluffy Bluff Galaxy. So in Fluffy Bluff, we're introduced to another power-up, kind of a fan favorite, the Cloud Flower. And with the Cloud Flower, you get 3 additional clouds, and whenever you spin, you can make a cloud platform. And these can allow you to access areas you're not otherwise able to with just your regular jumps, intended or otherwise. And Cloud Mario has a lot of broken mechanics behind them, and you'll get to see a lot of them in this run. So, I'm actually going to be starting by doing Fluffy Bluff Secret here, which requires me to collect 100 coins to feed a Hungry Luma. And if that sounds like a lot, it is, especially since this is the first Hungry Luma in the game that can take coins, and it requires the most coins. But there's 2 really convenient locations to get coins. One of them is this pipe room. I actually can't let the timers on any of these coin groups expire, otherwise I won't be able to get them again, and I'd have to ditch the star and do the other one. So I get exactly 60 from that room, and then I can get the remaining 40 on the cloud where the Hungry Luma actually is. Oh, turn around, Mario. Uh-oh, this is not good. Okay, that's really bad. So, I was doing those short little jumps there to, actually, I was actually doing those short little jumps to try to speed Mario up, and in the process, I also accidentally jumped over a bunch of coins, so I had to go back down to get 1 extra. So that's a pretty big time loss. But now that I fed the coins to this Hungry Luma, he's going to transform into a planet, because logic. And I'll be utilizing some of the various broken cloud tech I was alluding to earlier to climb up this tower. I'm just going to kind of let the movement here speak for itself, and then I'll explain everything afterwards. Okay, so I had a really big mistake there, but... The kind of big thing to note about cloud tech is what's known as cloud canceling, or crouch canceling. So whenever you make a cloud, you'll notice that I crouch every time, and that's actually to cancel the cloud making animation so I can move right away. But it also has an added benefit of allowing me to sort of utilize the cloud's upward bounce. Because you may have noticed that when I was doing some of those jumps, Mario's jumps gained a lot more height. And that's because the momentum of moving platforms actually gives your jumps inertia in this game. So for example, if a platform is moving upwards, then your jumps go a lot higher. And so that's what the cloud bounces allow me to do. Another weird thing with Cloud Mario is that if you long jump from the center of a cloud while you're with Cloud Mario and you're above an abyss, you can gain quite a bit of horizontal speed. And I'm actually going to use that for a Floppy Block 1 here for a pretty massive shortcut. I'm just going to kind of jump off this cloud here. And there just doesn't happen to be a death zone here. So with a couple of well-placed clouds, I'm able to make it all the way to the last planet of the level. That saves around a minute. And as such, I'm actually not going to be getting the Comet Medal here. And you also just saw me do there some cloud-boosted long jumps. That's just kind of a similar mechanic. I basically make a cloud while I'm grounded, and then conserve that momentum into a long jump that gets extra distance in height. So, very quick star. And another thing that's kind of annoying about Starship events is that certain stars where you utilize a power-up, maybe not necessarily for the first time, but they will actually take you to this part of the starship known as the engine room, where the power-up is showcased in a glass container. This room has absolutely no purpose. You can't even use the power-up for any reason, so basically anytime I'm taken down here again, I'm just gonna get out of here as soon as Lava's done talking. And this movement back to the starship, back to the button, is pretty tricky. Alright. So now we're going to move on to Bowser Jr.'s Fiery Flotilla. This is the first castle level, so these castle levels are at the end of each world, and they'll give us Grand Stars, which will actually allow us to go from world to world. And they have fights that alternate between Bowser Jr. or Bowser, and they're usually pretty difficult stages. So within this stage, there's a really, really tight thwomp cycle I need to make at the very start, and the movement I'm going to use to get this thwomp cycle is very easy to die to. So hopefully I can pull this off. Alright, should be good. Nice. So I can get up here, and then here's another interesting exploit that Galaxy games have. A lot of planets have bigger gravity fields than you'd expect. So I can just jump into that planet's gravity field and skip basically the entire level. And now I have to fight Gobbleguts. So Gobblegut is definitely one of the hardest bosses to do in speedrunning. Basically, he's a giant dragon with 6 bellyache bulges. And the way this fight is supposed to work is you're supposed to attack the bellyache bulges as they're passing by while he digs his body into the planet. But you can actually attack the bellyache bulges while he's in the air. And with this very, very precise setup, it's possible to get all 6 hits ridiculously quickly, but I need nothing to go wrong here. Okay, so right there I just got bulges 5, 6, and 1 in order. So what I'm going to do here for the start of the second half of the fight is I'm going to run down and go in a straight line so that Gobblegut follows me. And he actually gets closer enough to the planet to where I can turn around here. And then I can just get these last 3 bulges back to back to back. Alright, and that was a perfect Gobblegut fight. That fight is way, way harder than I just made it look. Because if a single thing goes wrong, you basically have to improvise, and it can easily snowball into 20 seconds of time loss. But luckily that went well. And that is the first Grand Star of the run. So like I said, Grand Stars are going to allow us to open portals to the next world, of which there are 6. Unfortunately, after each of the first 5 worlds, we're going to have to deal with this sort of long and really pointless cutscene and series of dialogue text boxes. Well, now would actually be a good time to point something else out. So you'll notice in the lower right-hand corner during these star text boxes, so there's a time that says 1 minute and 38.18 seconds. That's actually the in-game time I got for that star. So that's the metric we use for ILs in this game. And it's also a really good tool to use in general for practicing consistency or determining where you are to other runners. So now we're going to be entering World 2, and this world segment is going to be kind of short compared to the other world segments in this run. We're not going to be getting too many stars here. And we're going to start off with Puzzle Plank Galaxy, which has a... I think Puzzle Plank is pretty well known for its music. In terms of speedrunning, this galaxy doesn't have too much going for it. It's mostly just movement with a couple minor skips here and there. Obviously, the galaxy is very puzzle-oriented.
Yes.
Okay, so I gotta ground pound this, and then of these four, the bottom right one always gives the launch star, so that's helpful to know. So on this next planet, I'm gonna do a backflip to get to this launch star early. It's pretty straightforward, but... Okay, I gotta work camera turn, but that still works. So, the thing with spin heights in this game is that, I don't think the game ever tells you this anywhere, but if you hold the A button while you're spinning, you actually gain a lot more height. And with Mario, you can spin with both the Wii Remote and the Nunchuck for some reason. And with Mario, using the Wii Remote actually gives you more height from your spins. And again, there's really no mention of this anywhere in the game, and it's unclear why they made them different at all. That planet doesn't have a whole lot going for it. This last planet is kind of weird, though, because the gravity on ground pounding these puzzle pieces can be really strange sometimes, and sometimes you can get multiple hits on these with a single ground pound. It's kind of random and inconsistent to get it to work, and obviously I didn't get it for either of those first two. I might still be able to get it for this one. No, alright. It wouldn't have saved me that much time, but it would have been cool to show off. And now here we have a mini-boss that's recycled from Galaxy 1. This game takes a lot from its predecessor, considering it was supposed to be DLC for the first game. So overall, again, pretty straightforward level. So... And now Luma is going to introduce an aspect of this game that is actually somewhat helpful for routing, and that is going to be the Grand World Map. So in addition to the individual world maps that contain all the galaxies of each world, you also have the Grand World Map, which just contains all of the worlds. So this is really helpful for backtracking purposes, because let's say I'm in World 5 and I need to get to World 2, I can actually just zoom out to the Grand World Map here, as you can see, and I could just go straight from World 5 to World 2 without having to backtrack through each individual world, which would waste a lot of time. And I don't actually have to do any world jumping until midway through World 3, but it is helpful to point out here. Okay. So, this is a Hightail Falls Galaxy, and this introduces the first Yoshi exclusive power-up, the Dash Pepper. So when Yoshi eats this pepper, he starts running really, really fast, and also he can run up walls because, again, logic. And the cool thing about this power-up is that its effect actually persists between launch stars. So a big portion of this star is going to be me trying to preserve this effect for as long as possible. And I'm going to do my best to avoid star bits here. You can't spit out star bits while you're on Yoshi, since B actually sticks Yoshi's tongue out. So that's the hardest part of it, though. So to keep the Dash Pepper's effect intact for as long as possible, I'm actually going to run up the left side here, which does require me to do that somewhat finicky dodge there. But it allows me to get that Dash Pepper and keep it for this next section. And then similarly, in this section, I'm also going to try to eat this upcoming Dash Pepper a little bit later. I'm going to kind of delay it like that. And then coming up, we have a pretty interesting infinite flutter strat. So by jumping off this platform as it's lowering with Dash Pepper momentum, and then holding specific angles, I can actually maintain that forwards momentum while infinite fluttering, and make it all the way over to this section. So that saves a pretty good chunk of time. We got a finicky Comet Metal grab here, and shaking makes it a little bit easier. Alright. And that ending was pretty crazy. So what happened there, basically, was whenever you dismount off of Yoshi in this game, you actually maintain all the momentum you had going into the dismount. And so that was that logic applied to dismounting off of Dash Pepper Yoshi at a really high speed, and going on a really high slope. And so you get a lot of height and distance from that. And you've actually seen me use that technique already to maintain the momentum from certain flutters. You'll see me use it quite a few times. Okay, so now we're going to be heading off to Cosmico Galaxy. This galaxy is kind of chill for the most part. What's really interesting about this galaxy is the routing, because I'm going to be collecting both Cosmico 1 and the Secret Star here, but Cosmico Secret is another hungry Luma that requires me to feed it 15 coins, and I'm actually going to be doing that while doing Cosmico 1. Yes. So I'm going to take a little detour here at the start to grab this Koopa Shell and these Star Bits. I need these Star Bits so that I can shoot them at these worm enemies, because if I kill them after shooting them with Star Bits, I get coins, otherwise I'd get Star Bits. And I want to do that twice in this route. And the reason why I need the shell is because in this game they actually added a cooldown between underwater spins, so you can't just spam them infinitely to go fast. So using the shell to swim is actually a little bit faster than doing consistent spins. It also saves you on a lot of exercise, so it's a win-win. And you can also do some pretty cool jumps out of the water, like the one I'm about to attempt here. Nice, that went really well. So just kind of due to the way everything's positioned in this level, it's actually faster to go ahead and collect the 15 coins to feed this hungry Luma, but then hit the switch to freeze the lake. And now I'm actually not going to be entering this hungry Luma's launch star, and instead I'm going to head over to the frozen waterfalls to get Cosmico 1, and then I'll get Cosmico Secret in my return trip here. And again, it's just faster because of routing purposes. Yeah, like I said, overall not a whole lot going for this stage, aside from just kind of the way we go about getting everything here. Well, now here comes an important part of the run that I have to remember. So, I mentioned earlier that whenever I'm going to be entering a galaxy and I need to select a clear star, I'm going to be pointing my Wii remote off screen to do that. This is an instance where I actually don't want to do that, because if I do that, then I will auto-select Cosmico 2, and I won't have access to that launch star on Cosmico 2. So if I accidentally were to do that, then I would have to sit through the level intro cutscenes, wait for Mario to land, and then exit out and re-enter, and that wastes about like 30 seconds. So I'm going to try to actually select Cosmico 1 instead, so hopefully my pointer doesn't mess up on me here. It seems to be doing fine. Alright, we're good. And once again, since I've already seen Cosmico 1's level intro cutscenes, I can just skip them. And I'm not going to need to refeed the Hungry Luma, so I can just make a direct beeline to the launch star. And then this is the cooldown between underwater spins that I was talking about. Also, along the way, I'm just going to be collecting some star bits. They're going to be useful for when I reach the next planet. So the secret star here is a sort of rehash of the bunny chasing missions from the first Galaxy game. This is the only bunny chasing mission in this game. There's a pretty fast strat I can go for here to catch the bunny a little bit quicker than before. So let's see if I can get this. Nice. So what you're supposed to do to catch that bunny is hit a ground pound a blue switch to turn the water into ice, and then skate to catch the bunny, because otherwise the water's movement just makes you too slow. But by stunning that bunny with star bits before you run after it, it just runs the wrong way for some reason, so you can catch it a lot quicker. Okay, so before I move on, there's a little thing I need to do here. So remember that toad I told you to keep in mind for later? That is the bank toad. And this is where the unrestricted bank denotation comes into play. So this is the bank toad, and the way this bank toad works is that it adds 100 star bits by default whenever you make a new file. But it also you can also store star bits into it from one file and then deposit them in another file. So I need about that many star bits from the bank toad for this run, and these are the star bits I'm going to be using for unlocking Hungry Luma Galaxies. And this just makes it so that I don't have to. This just makes it so I don't have to actually collect any star bits from any levels, which greatly, in my opinion, and a lot of other Galaxy runners, it greatly improves the quality of the run overall. And so that is sort of like a New Game Plus sort of thing, but it is sort of standard for this category. So, unlocking Hungry Luma Galaxies is a bit of a lengthy process, but usually these Hungry Luma Galaxies have really, really fast stars, so they're worth unlocking, as opposed to getting other stars. And there's no better example than the star I'm about to do here. So, Honey Bloom Galaxy, I'm going to be getting both stars here, but there's a secret star that's basically right at the beginning of the level. And I'm just going to kind of let the movement speak for itself here and let you enjoy this star. It's pretty fun to watch. And there's the star. So yeah, that probably took about 16 seconds in game time, so definitely worth it. And right here, you're going to see an interesting overlapping of events. So because I just collected Honey Bloom's secret, I'm going to be taken to the bottom of the starship in order to see a bee NPC. But because this is also my 15th star, I'm supposed to get a letter from the Mail Toad for a star in Fluffy Bluff that I'm not going to be getting. So what's going to happen is by combining those two events, I can warp straight from the bottom of the starship up to the Mail Toad to receive that letter. And that just saves a few seconds in starship movement. You'll see me use a similar thing again later in the run. And so now I'm going to re-enter and do Honey Bloom 1. We didn't actually used to do this star in the route, but it ends up being faster than other stars to go ahead and do this for various reasons. This entire star is entirely in 2D, so there's not really a whole lot you can do in terms of major sequence breaking. It's mostly just about optimizing movement. This is a very tough star to optimize. And one very important piece of tech here is cloud jumps. So you're not normally able to stand on these clouds and flowers unless you have the bee mushroom or the cloud flower, but you have a 6-frame window when you land on them to actually jump on them. And I'm going to try to use that here to get through this section without the bee mushroom. Nice. That's a very scary jump. But luckily, the 6-frame window means you have about a 1/10 of a second to time those jumps. Unfortunately, here I have no choice but to use B Mario in order to get through the section, and B Mario is very, very slow. It greatly hinders your movement options. So right here, I'm actually going to intentionally take damage off this Chomp enemy to lose the suit so I can get through this whole section a little bit quicker. Alright. That was good. I meant to actually jump over that bee mushroom, but I got kind of confused there with my movement. Not a good shine loss, though. And then the rest of this level is just going to be flying around with the bee mushroom. You can technically complete this without the bee mushroom, but I don't even know if it's doable with Mario. And it's basically IL only, especially at the very end. And as a matter of fact, landing on more of these platforms and jumping off of them is faster than just flying for as long as possible. Just gotta fly up to this last star here, and there we go. So overall, pretty good level. There's a lot of really bad things that can happen there. So for a marathon, I'll definitely accept that. Alright. So now I have just enough stars to open the barrier to the castle level of World 3, which is Bowser's Lava Lair. And that's going to be kind of a common trend with these worlds. So Bowser's Lava Lair is a pretty interesting level to watch, because there's not really like one big skip you do, but there's a lot of really cool tricks you do one after the other. It's a very satisfying level to pull off, but this is also a level where mistakes can be rather costly. So, for example, at the very start here, you're actually supposed to kill a Magic Koopa in order to make a Pole Star appear. But as you saw earlier, it is possible to just jump into Gravity Spheres early. So I can just long jump straight into the Gravity Sphere from here. And then similarly here, I can actually just side flip to get up here instead of taking that spring. And right here, I'm actually going to grab the Life Shroom. This gives me 3 extra units of health. And while this does have an animation that comes with it, this is going to be useful for a set of lava boosts I'm going to be doing at the very end of this level. But it's very important that I don't go below 4 health here, otherwise I will actually lose that additional 3 health and I won't be able to get it back. And I need at least 4 health for the end of the level. So right here I'm going to do a little lava boost here to skip fighting a hammer row. I have to make sure I take 2 bounces there. And then here's another pretty interesting strat. So I'm actually going to do a double jump into the lava, and this will actually allow me to store a triple jump for when I get back on land, and that allows me to get that... Okay, that was really scary. I thought I was going to get crushed there. That's a slightly faster way to get that Comet medal. Alright, we're living. Okay, so coming up is the section that I needed 4 health for. And basically there's a couple snake block auto scrollers I can skip by just kind of doing some lava boosting here. Alright, nice. That went well. So that might have looked a little bit weird if you have any... if you have a general idea on how lava boosting works, that might have looked weird. So basically what happens is... when I landed on the first statue there, I do a bounce, and that's normal for when you land on the ground after landing in lava, is that you normally have to do that short little bounce before you can regain regular control of Mario. But by landing in the lava after doing that short bounce, and then landing on the ground again, the game actually remembers that you did that first bounce, and so you can start long jumping immediately. And that's how I was able to get across those statues. It actually requires very tight spacing. Alright, here we have the first Bowser fight. Bowser fights in this game, honestly, don't have a whole lot going for them. This fight in particular is kind of uninteresting. It will get a little bit more interesting as we go through, as we get to some of the later fights, and they get a bit more involved. But basically the way they work is that Bowser yells, he summons some meteors somehow, and then he punches the planet, and then you ground pound the meteors into him while he's trying to get his fist back out, and you have to do this a total of 4 times. Really, the big optimization you get to do here is by having Bowser punch close to the meteors, and then ground pounding the meteor as early as possible, and then having it travel the shortest distance to Bowser as possible. And now for the second half of the fight, he's actually going to breathe fire after dropping the meteors, but before punching. And I actually want to pay attention to where this fire attack ends, because that's where he's actually going to start aiming his next punch. And I can actually manipulate him into punching right away if I know that information. And missing hits in these fights waste about 20 seconds each time it happens, which at this level of play is a very big time loss. So I'm going to try to avoid that as much as possible. In this fight, it's less likely to happen. So overall, that fight went pretty well. Like I said, that fight isn't super interesting, but it'll get a bit more interesting when we get to some of the later fights. But with that, we just have to sit through a few more cutscenes and dialogue, and then I'll be able to get World 2's Grand Star. So keep in mind that I will be doing some backtracking to these earlier worlds later in the run, because there's certain stars I'm saving for later, or stars that I could have gotten, but that I can't get now. So there will be some cleanup sessions throughout this run. And you'll start to see that in the next world. But for now, that's the end of the World 2 segment. They were not quite 1/6 of the way through the run, or quite 1/3 of the way, my bad. But we're just about there. However, World 3 is where I would say the run starts to take a massive difficulty spike, because mistakes start becoming a lot more frequent, and they start becoming a lot more costly. And also, like I mentioned earlier, World 3 is where I'm actually going to begin doing all that world hopping, because comets are going to stop spawning. And I'll get into what those are once that actually becomes relevant. Okay, so at the start of World 3, there's a branching path I can take here, and I'm actually going to be going to Cloudy Court first. So I know I haven't used the Cloud Flower in a while, and I'm sure you've probably missed it, because it's very entertaining to watch. So you'll get to see a lot more of it here. So there's a few pretty cool things you'll get to see me do in Cloudy Court 1. The first is what I like to call 4 cloud strats. So at 2 different intervals in the level, you're going to see me do a cloud-boosted long jump into a Cloud Flower, and that'll help me replenish my cloud stock to 3, and then I can use the remaining 3 clouds I get from that to cross a distance I otherwise wouldn't be able to. Hence, so I basically use 4 clouds for a single maneuver, hence the name. So I do the first one right here. And then right here, I need to actually be facing this drum here so I can ledge grab onto it so I don't have to use a cloud. And then I can actually use all 3 of these clouds here to skip this launch star. And then make it all the way to the top of this section. So you can only actually do 1 midair spin, or 1 valid midair spin, but after you do that spin, while you're in midair, you can do sort of a second wimpy spin, and that's still good enough to make clouds. So that's what I was able to do there. Alright, I'm going to do another 4 cloud strat here. Get over this wall, and then right here there's some crushers I'm going to try to 1 cycle, and they have a comet medal in the middle of them, so I have to be pretty quick here. Nice. Missing that is like a 10-second time loss, or if you get crushed and die, it's even worse than that. And that is a little bit tighter than it looks, but with the setup I used, it's not too bad. Alright. So now we're going to move on. So the next star in line is going to be Freezy Flake's Secret Star. And this is where, chat, you get to have a little bit of fun here. So Freezy Flake's Secret Star is going to be the first of 3 mini-games with the Chimp. And the Chimp appears a few times throughout the game. He basically challenges you to beat his high score. And this is a skating minigame. And this minigame is on a timer, and you can't stop the timer early by beating the high score. And it also doesn't lose time to get as high of a score as possible. So if you want to guess what score I'm going to get here, just for fun, the rules are you have to guess anywhere between 500 and 900 points, and you can only guess in multiples of 10. So you can guess something like 560, 630, 740, stuff like that. And my rule is, if no one gets it exactly right, then whoever's closest either ahead or behind wins. So get your guesses in, chat. So the pipe to the minigame is just hidden in this tree here. So the minigame itself is honestly pretty straightforward. So there's only 1 pattern you can get here, but it can be rotated in 1 of 3 different ways. But once you know the initial rotation you're on, it's fixed for the remainder of the minigame. So I can basically just memorize muscle memory for all 3 patterns. And that makes these minigames pretty easy once you sort of figure them out. Also, I'm skating backwards. If you press Z while you're skating backwards, if you press Z while you're skating, you just start skating backwards. I don't know why. It doesn't actually affect your physics in any way. It's just fun to do. So I just beat the high score that I need to be here, but I can go a little bit further. Okay, so whoever gets closest to or exactly 730 would have won. And if you missed that, or you didn't guess correctly, don't worry, you'll get another chance later in the run. So overall, again, that star, it doesn't really matter what score you get as long as you beat the high score, because then you lose time if you don't. Okay, so now I'm going to re-enter Freezy Flake to do Freezy Flake 1. This is a pretty quick star, but I am going to be on a very strict timer for most of it. Mainly because the Fire Flower does expire after a certain period of time has passed. And that's going to be pretty relevant in this star. I missed that early hit both times. You need a pretty precise angle to get that. So, as soon as I grab this Fire Flower, I have until this runs out to make it to the next section and blow up a wall to get the Comet Medal. You have maybe a couple seconds of leeway here. Unfortunately, the movement isn't too precise. You should be good. Nice. So yeah, missing that is about a 20-second time loss or so. Now I just gotta get here, and I can pretty easily lava boost to get behind this Bowser statue. And when spamming fireballs at this Bowser statue, it's actually faster to time it. Or at least it's better for me to time it. Okay, so we're gonna get a bit of a special visit here from everyone's favorite twin brother. So starting from this point, Luigi is gonna start appearing at the start of various stars, and you can actually talk to him to switch to playing as him for just that one star. Luigi does run faster and jump higher than Mario, so he might seem like a better character to use, but the amount of time it takes to switch to him, and then he also talks to you after the star, and then you have to switch back, he just wastes too much time for the amount of time he would save. So this entire run is going to be playing Mario only. And you can't switch between Mario and Luigi freely until post-game, which isn't possible in any percent. Okay, so Honey Halls 1, you're going to see me kind of turn the camera a few times at the start, and that's to manipulate cycles. So, for the most part, anything that moves, if it's not on camera, it doesn't move. And this can be enemies, platforms, stuff like that. So, by turning the camera a couple times like that, I actually am able to manipulate the cycles of these first two platforms in order to make a slightly faster cycle. It's only like a couple seconds faster, and it's still pretty tight to make. So yeah, this cycle basically isn't doable unless you do that camera manip. And funnily enough, those first two platforms are based on cycles, but this and the next platform actually start moving when you enter a certain trigger zone. So they're not actually cycle-based. The Comet Medal platform, though, which is after this, is cycle-dependent. But it only moves at very specific times, so you can so kind of manipulate it. Right, hopefully these octaboos don't knock me off here. Okay, that was close. Okay, and then here we get Yoshi, so you can probably guess what we're about to do. And then this is the Bolt Berry. It basically eliminates floors underneath you that otherwise don't exist. Obviously, I don't really need it here, but I will need it a few times later in the run. Okay, so I just got my 4th star from World 3, and that's actually important. So you'll notice that I've been collecting those Comet Medal coins in just about every galaxy throughout this run so far, and that is for Comet Stars to spawn. So, Comet Stars are basically modified versions of a galaxy that can have an added challenge to them in some way. There's multiple different kinds, and in order to get a comet to spawn in a galaxy, it's much simpler than a Galaxy 1. Basically, to get comets to spawn, you need the comet medal from that galaxy and a certain number of comet medals total. There are some other requirements for certain comets, but those are the basic ones. So if I collect a comet medal from a galaxy that doesn't have a comet or has a comet that I'm not getting, it's to add to that total. And I'm going to be wanting to collect 32 comet medals total. And so I'll be letting comets sort of build up in the earlier worlds as the run progresses, and the cleanup sessions will be mostly for those stars. So here's Honey Halls 2. This level is kind of just a bunch of long jumps. Not really too much to say here. Okay, that Octoboo nearly killed me, but we're good. Optimizing long jumps, though, is actually a bit more... there's a bit more that goes into it than you might think. Aside from the obvious taking turns as tightly as possible, the timing for how you press Z and A also matters. You want them to be as close together as possible, otherwise you'll lose running speed when you land from your long jump. And similarly, when you're chaining long jumps together, you have a small frame window to press A without losing too much speed. You might not notice the difference too much when you're just watching, but it definitely does make a little bit of a difference. Someone who's paying attention to their long jumps versus someone who isn't. So yeah, this star is quite literally straightforward. You don't want to sleep on it, though. It is a very difficult star to die to. Okay. So, up next, we're going to be doing a couple more Hungry Luma Galaxies, starting with the one in World 3, Beat Block Galaxy. And the Hungry Luma feeding animation on this one is weird, because for some reason the last star bit on this Hungry Luma will always shoot out later than the rest. There is another Hungry Luma in the game that's like this, but you won't see it in this run. And this will actually be useful, because since you can move during the Hungry Luma feeding animation, I can actually set up a backflip to the button so that I land on the button a little bit earlier after the cutscene ends. And this last start, it makes it a little easier to time. So Beat Block at first glance is going to appear very similar to what you just saw in Honey Halls 2, but it's actually quite a bit different. So, Beat Block has an interesting gimmick where there are yellow and green blocks, and it will switch between which colored block is active every 8 beats of the song, which also makes this a very cycle-based stage. So, I'm going to need to play kind of in rhythm here in order to make sure I make the proper cycles. So at the start here, I actually am going to kind of play a little bit slow so I don't get caught on some green blocks up ahead, but after that I really have to go quickly. Right. Now I have to haul it. We're good so far. And this last section has just some silver stars I need to collect. Alright, perfect beat block 1. Missing cycles there can be pretty bad, because then you have to improvise, and it's just massive time loss. But if you can stay on rhythm, then you're usually pretty good. Okay, so with the stars I have available to me in World 3 that I want to collect for this run, I'm not going to have enough in order to access the barrier to the next castle level. So this is where I'm going to begin my first cleanup session. So I'm actually going to backtrack to World 1 and get a handful of stars that I couldn't collect earlier. And I'm going to use the Grand World Map to do that. So again, I can just zoom out here and go straight from World 3 to World 1, and I don't even have to go through World 2 at all. And we're going to start with another Hungry Luma Galaxy. This is going to be Flip Swap Galaxy. This Hungry Luma Galaxy actually has a similar gimmick to Beat Block, where you have red and blue platforms, and it will switch between which platforms are available to you every time you spin. But the cool thing about this Galaxy is that the platforms sort of tilt upwards as they're switching, meaning if you jump off of them as they're switching, you can get enormous amounts of height. And I'm going to be trying to abuse this by getting super high boosted long jumps to fly over huge portions of the stage. And these look really, really stylish. The one caveat, though, is that you're doing these over pits, and if you miss them, it is quite easy to just die. So I'll be going for 5 of these in this stage, and the first couple are quite tricky to pull off, so hopefully this goes well.
Yes.
Nice. That went well. This next one here is also a little bit finicky. Alright, that went well. The last few aren't too bad. So what you saw me do earlier there is I was able to cancel a spin with a long jump, and that allows me to switch the platforms while keeping my momentum. I'm going to do that again here. And then you can also do that with a single jump, which I can do here, to get sort of a mini super jump off that platform. That was a really good beat block. I mean, flip swap. Sorry, I got mixed up. That was a good flip swap. Getting all of those jumps first try is really, really good. And then here, once again, I'm just being brought to the bottom of the starship for an NPC cutscene. So after this, we're going to begin doing the first couple of comets in the run. We're going to start with Yoshi Star's comet, which is going to be the first of 4 romp comets in the game. So romp comets are exclusive to Galaxy 2, where basically you have to kill a certain number of enemies within a certain time period. In this case, you have to kill Spinies with the Rainbow Star, which is kind of a hallmark of Mario games. This star is incredibly difficult to optimize because while you have the Rainbow Star and you're running on the ground, you're able to build up P-speed, similar to like in Super Mario Bros. 3 or whatever. And you lose this speed if you slow down or bump into a wall, so I want to try to maintain that speed as much as possible, and in this star that is easier said than done. The other thing that's annoying is that I mentioned earlier that moving objects don't update when they're not on camera. If I kill a Spiny and then it goes off camera, which I think just happened there, then the counter won't actually update until the Spiny finishes its death animation on camera. So I'm going to have to make sure to turn the camera back towards that Spiny at some point. Alright. Alright, that Spiny also died off camera, so I'm going to have to turn the camera in a little bit. Oh. That last Spiny is almost always in a terrible position. That wasn't too bad. I did slow down quite a few times, especially at the end. Okay, and then the next comet I'm going to get, which will be the last star in this cleanup session, is Sky Station's comet. So this is a speedy comet for Sky Station 1, which you might be thinking, Sky Station 1, that was kind of a long star. This is actually a shortened version of Sky Station 1, so most of the planets are going to be cut out here, so this star is definitely worth it to be in the route. The new gimmick that Galaxy 2 adds to the speedy comets, though, is that I'm going to start this level with only 20 seconds remaining, which is absolutely not enough time to complete the entire star. But there are these clocks that are around the level that add 10 seconds to your time. So this star is going to be about taking the fastest route possible while minimizing the amount of clocks I have to get. So as you can see here, I'm already on this elevator planet. And then once I take this launch star, I'll be at Pee-wee. So this Pee-wee fight should go the exact same as the previous fight. If you missed it earlier, I'm going to try to shatter Pee-wee's shell once with just a single ground pound instead of spinning at it. Alright, that was a good first hit. If you shoot Pee-wee with star bits as a cutscene's about to trigger and he doesn't land properly, then the cutscene actually never plays. And as a result, that soft locks the fight because you're unable to interact with Pee-wee. And if that happens in this star, it's just an inconvenient time loss. If that were to happen in Sky Station 1, I would have had to reset. But thankfully it didn't happen. Oh, I accidentally grabbed some star bits at the end. So there's going to be a text box after this that counts down those 2 star bits. I didn't spit them out in time. On some stars, it doesn't lose time, but because there's going to be a Galaxy Complete text box with this star, it will lose time. Not a huge deal, though. It's only like a second or so. Alright, so now I'm down here, and now I can go back to World 3. There's still a couple more stars I need here. And we're going to start with Tall Trunk. So Tall Trunk 1 is another level that's just kind of one trick after another. It's another one of those levels where one mistake can be pretty catastrophic. So on this first planet, you're actually supposed to use Yoshi and this power-up known as the Blimp Fruit to climb this tree, but that's actually quite a bit slower, and Mario is actually able to use his jumps and whatnot to scale the entire tree without Yoshi. Alright, that was a bad angle. So this could take a few seconds. Nice. So yeah, no need for Yoshi there, but now at the start of this planet we can start using him to great effect. So this infinite flutter to this combo medal is going to be kind of weird because it's going to be straight backwards. That was a little slower than I would have liked, but it still worked. If I would have missed that Comet Medal, I would have had to flutter slowly to get it, and that would have killed my ability to go backwards. So I would have had to grab the Blimp Fruit, and it would have been really, really slow. That was a good section there. So I'm dismounting Yoshi here because not only does it allow me to get that launch star a little bit faster, I can also do a ground pound at the start of this planet, and he'll just be in the egg ready for me to go. I was trying to do that part coinless, but it's pretty difficult exercise. Unfortunately here, I have no choice but to use the Blimp Fruit in order to climb up here. Since infinite fluttering upwards is actually pretty slow in comparison to using the Blimp Fruit. There is some optimization I can do here, though. So by staying as close to the inside of this curve as possible, as much as I can save a little bit of time. And then I also, at one point, I had to break out of Blimp Fruit mode by using the nunchuck so I could keep the Wii Remote pointer pointed at the next Blimp Fruit. And just in case anybody's concerned, whenever I drop Yoshi in a pit, he doesn't actually die. He just transports into an egg once he reaches the death barrier, or he's idle for long enough, and then he'll just respawn somewhere else, so I'm not killing any Yoshis or anything. Hopefully that brings you a little bit of relief. Okay, now I'm going to be doing Cloudcore Comet. This is going to be the first Cosmic Clone Comet in the game. So you saw Cosmic Clones for a little bit earlier in Sky Station 2. Basically, they are like dark copies of Mario that copy your inputs frame perfectly. And they can be a pretty big nuance. They can be a pretty big nuisance for backtracking whenever that needs to be done. And they're very prevalent in this star. So for this first section, they're supposed to spawn when you grab each of these starships. I can actually prevent them from spawning. Okay, so by just barely touching the edges of those starships, you can prevent them from spawning, but I wasn't able to get it all the way. It doesn't really save time, though. But now we're going into the 2D part. So if I were to mess up a wall jump in this part of the level, the Cosmic Clones would also mess up the wall jump. So if I try to get back up, they're just all in the way. So I really need to not make any mistakes here. We should be in the clear, though. So an interesting factoid about this star is that by collecting this star, I'm actually able to unlock every Cosmic Clone Comet in the game. So none of the other Cosmico Comets would spawn if I didn't get that one. And there are going to be some Cosmico Comets I need, and there's an extra layer to that that I'll get into midway through World 4. Alright, so now I have just enough stars to access the barrier to Bowser Jr.'s Fearsome Fleet, which is the boss level of World 3. And this is a pretty exciting level to watch, let me tell you. So, this stage is supposed to contain a bunch of moving platforms that are basically just auto-scroller rides, but the entire level is basically all one height, and you get Yoshi at the very start. So, you can basically just infinite far from beginning to end. However, you can only maintain max speed in the air with Yoshi for about 10 seconds, and then afterwards he'll drop to a very, very slow crawl, either to the forwards or side. And so I actually have to do this in 3 separate flutters. And the route I'm going to be using for this stage is quite precise to do, and messing anything up can mean death and a massive time loss. Alright, so as soon as I get on Yoshi here, we're going to start the madness. So I'm going to do a side flip here to start getting more height for my infinite flutters, and then I'm going to try to infinite flutter all the way over to this asteroid that for some reason has collision. And then from here I can infinite flutter to a question block that's normally where the airships are supposed to be. And then this is a really, really precise flutter. Nice. That was really good. So, you actually need a very specific angle in order for that flutter to work, and you also need to maintain really, really good control of your height. And failing that flutter, obviously, is death. But that went really well. And now we have to fight Bowser Jr.'s Mega Hammer machine. So, this is another pointer-based boss, and there's actually quite a few different strats you can utilize in this fight. So as soon as I get on Yoshi here, I'm going to back up a little bit, because I'm going to try to manipulate the... I'm going to try to time this in such a way so I can get an early hit here. Nice. Right here, though, I actually don't want to get an early hit, because I want to cancel one of Mega Hammer's animations instead. So I'm going to wait here to shoot this bullet bill. So when he was shaking his hammers there, he was getting ready to smash them together, and that would have lost a little bit of time. Alright, so now I'm behind here, I'm going to lure 3 bullet bills, and I'm going to use 2 of them to take out this back weak spot, and then get the 3rd one in Yoshi's mouth, and I'm going to hope that it scores through the cutscene. It's kind of random whether or not it does, though. So let's see if it does. Alright, nice. And then you're supposed to wait for Mega Hammer to lower its head, so that you can shoot these bullet bills at the cockpit, but the hitbox is always active. So, with a side flip and a full flutter, you're able to easily make it up there. That was a really good boss fight. And so this is the only Grand Star in the game that Yoshi can be in the animation for. Nope. That was a really, really good Fearsome Fleet. The question block flutter was really, really fast. So that's it for the World 3 segment. Again, we're not quite halfway through the run yet, though. An interesting thing I can point out here, so only 1 comet can spawn after any given star at a time. And so after Kaladi Court's Comet, there were 2 Cosmico Comets that could have spawned. The first was Puzzle Plank Comet, which actually spawned after I got that star. But then the next one is Honey Hall's Comet, which is supposed to spawn after this star. However, this cutscene overrides the Comet Spawn cutscene, so I actually don't get to watch that Comet Spawn cutscene. So that saves about 5 seconds by getting those 2 to overlap. And you'll see me do this again in World 5. We try to route that in as much as possible. Alright, so here we have the World 4 segment. World 4 is going to be a pretty long segment for this run because we're going to have a backtracking session in the middle of it. So we're going to start by kind of taking a detour here and going to Sweet Mystery. Instead of going to Supermassive because that galaxy is just too slow to be in any percent. An interesting tech about feeding Hungry Lumas. So I'm actually, while these text boxes are displaying, I'm going to hold the B button. which is the button that shoots out star bits, and that makes it so that once the text box is closed, it will only fire star bits if I'm pointing at the Hungry Luma. And that just makes it a little easier to feed the Hungry Luma without wasting star bits. Okay. So Sweet Mystery is going to be kind of a rinse and repeat of what we saw in the previous level, where I get on Yoshi as soon as the level starts and I just infinite flutter from beginning to end, although it's not quite as terrifying this time around. I'm also going to be using the Bowl Bearing quite a few times here in order to stand on floors that I otherwise couldn't. For the most part, I think the flutters in this level are pretty self-explanatory. This first one I'm going to be doing with a somewhat blind angle, because I'm not going to be turning the camera. So we'll see how this goes. Yes. Alright, this is going to be a little bit far back, but that's fine. So if I was a bit more farther forward, I would have been able to flutter all the way over to this Comet Metal platform, but that doesn't lose too much time. Okay, so in this section you're supposed to hit all these flip switches to make a launch star appear, but obviously I'm on Yoshi, so I don't have to do that. Although, the thing to note about this flutter, if I somehow fall during this flutter, which can happen, there are a few ways to mess up flutters, then there's actually invisible ground underneath you instead of a death plane, because the death plane hasn't properly loaded yet. So I would have to spend about 20 additional seconds finding a ledge to fall off of. Luckily it didn't happen there. So yeah, you'll notice that during that stage I had to stop fluttering and then restart several times because of that 10-second limit that I talked about earlier. The thing with infinite fluttering, though, is that it's mostly just a matter of getting the rhythm of the inputs down, and then it's about, and then once you get that down, you can basically, it just becomes muscle memory, and then you just have to learn what angles to hold for each flutter. So now we're going to Cosmico Galaxy. This galaxy is very, very cool to watch. Cosmico 1, there's just so many different ways you can skip planets in this star, and I'll be going for the fastest possible route here. There's several different gravity exploits I can use here. Alright, so I have to wait for this enemy to move out of the way here. Once I do that, I can wall jump onto this wall. And then I can make it from here all the way over to the Comet Metal section. And then from here, I can actually just long jump straight from here to this planet. But doing that actually deactivates a kill plane that would normally be here. So I can get on top of this roof, backflip, slide off and get a little bit of backwards momentum. And then I can bypass the kill plane, and once I get close enough to Glamdozer's planet here, I can just spin and enter the gravity field, and that skips almost the entire level. So yeah, very cool strat. And then the fight with Glamdozer itself is pretty straightforward. So I can hit Glamdozer anywhere on its body as soon as it becomes vulnerable. So by using visual cues, I can time it to where I get a hit as early as possible. So yeah, pretty easy fight. So this star is actually the first of 3 stars where I'll be getting mail toad letters from Rosalina. I wouldn't hint at who it is, but you won't know that in this game because it's in Japanese. So there are 3 of these stars in the run that'll give these mail toad letters from Rosalina that each give 50 star bits, and this will actually account for 150 of the star bits I'm going to need on the route. Because the last Hungry Luma I need to get is Flash Blacks, and that's in World 6, and that requires 1800. So I'm going to get the remaining 100 that I need from those 2 letters. Alright. So now we're going to do Flipsville 2. So Flipsville 2 is another level that Nintendo really just didn't try to prevent you from skipping anything in. Because you're supposed to use the spin drill for a lot of these first 2 planets, and you don't need it on either of them. So, for example, on this planet, I can just kind of jump around this wall and go straight to the launch star. I'll use this Mecha Koopa here to help me out. That was a low spin. And then here you can wall jump on the structure for some reason. Okay. Alright, this first part here is pretty tight. I need to get that drill as early as possible because I need to make a cycle here. Alright, so we're good. And then the rest of this section is just going to be trying to make all these cycles while drilling to get the silver stars. Sort of half auto-scroller, half cycle-based. Right, so after I grab this silver star, once the gravity changes so that I'm facing down, I'm actually going to wait a little bit before I drill into that last room. And this is going to make it so that the gravity switches... sooner once this cutscene ends. And for some reason that affects your hitbox in such a way to where I can drill into that room and grab the star immediately. So if I didn't wait there, I would have had to fall to the other side of the room and then jump to get to the star. So that ends up netting time save overall. Now, there are supposed to be comets that spawn for Sweet Mystery and Flipsville that I'm gonna get later. But they haven't spawned yet. And you'll find out why here shortly. So for now, we're going to move forward in World 4, and we're going to go to Chompworks Galaxy. So unfortunately, Chompworks 1 is a pretty lengthy star, and it's full of auto-scrollers. But the nice thing about doing Chompworks 1 is that I'll get access to 2 other pretty fast stars, so it is still worth doing. This first planet does have a lot to take in, though, so... This ramp here at the end is a slippery slope, and you're not normally able to climb up it, but you can climb up it if you just run up the very edge. So now I need to hit this lever. Now I need to get back and lower a platform in time for the chomps to make it on. Right. And then if I long jump into this launch star, I can actually prevent a landing stun on the next planet. So, yeah, that planet had a lot to take in, and then this planet is just long jump a few times and get to the launch star. And this planet actually has a pretty nice strat you can do here, so... I'm going to barely touch the left edge of this seesaw platform, and this is actually going to lower it just enough so that this first chomp can make it on. If I didn't do that, then that first chomp would have broken, and I would have had to wait for a second one. Now, unfortunately, on this planet, I'm not actually able to get to the first platform in time to lower the platform in order to get this first chain chomp on. If I had a second Wii remote, I would have actually had an orange Luma in control as the second player, and they would have been able to freeze that chomp in place so that I could get onto this platform and lower it in time. But, so 2 players can save a little bit of time in this run, just from that, and then there's a couple other optimizations. They can, like, pick up coins, freeze enemies, they can pick up star bits, they can hit other stuff, but they can break Yoshi eggs, but holding 2 Wii remotes at once is kind of awkward, so this entire run's just going to be played with 1 player. And yeah, this last part's kind of just an auto-scroll. There isn't anything you can do to speed this up. You just have to make sure your chomp doesn't break. Oh, I backflipped a little too early there. I was trying to get a super high backflip there. So again, pretty long level. But now I have access to Chompworks 2 and Chompworks Comet, which are both really fast. So Chompworks 2 is going to be all about getting the Spring Mushroom, which I know is everybody's favorite power-up from the first game. Thankfully, though, you don't have to use it for the entire star because Nintendo is very good at making games. You can actually skip the Spring Mushroom from the entire star, but it's faster to use it on the last planet. And another noteworthy thing about Chompworks 2 is that there is a fast platform cycle I can make. So there are elevators on the last planet, and those elevators are moving while you're on the first planet. And if I move just fast enough, I can barely make a very tight cycle on the last planet that saves like 6 or so seconds. So let's see what happens here. I didn't get the jump cancel, so I'm gonna have to move really, really quickly. That might be fast enough, I'm not sure though. So another weird difference between using the Wii Remote and the nunchuck to spin is that if you hit wall jump and then spin using the nunchuck, you can actually spin a little bit sooner. So I can use that here. Alright, so I might be fast enough to make the cycle here, we'll just have to see. Oh, I'm definitely not fast enough now. Yeah, so that's the cycle I just missed there. So that's about like 6 seconds or so loss. It's not a huge deal. There we go. Yeah, overall, pretty basic star. So now we're going to be taken back to the engine room again, and then after I leave here, I'm actually going to begin my second of 2 cleanup trips in the run. Second of 3 cleanup trips in the run, my bad. So we actually used to do this cleanup trip after World 4, but I'm actually doing it midway through World 4 in order to get more stars. And that's for rounding purposes, you'll see later. So we're gonna start by actually going back to World 2 here. Again, using the Grand World map. And I'm going to start by getting Puzzle Plank Comet, which I could have gotten earlier, but this allows me to do the World 2 cleanup in one trip. So Puzzle Plank is going to be the first Purple Coin Comet in the run. And this will actually unlock every Purple Coin Comet in the game. And so this will allow me to get the Purple Coin Comets from Sweet Mystery and Flipspell that I couldn't get earlier. Doing the star optimally is way harder than it looks. It looks super mundane, but actually grabbing each of these groups of 4 purple coins without slowing down requires very precise positioning. And you have Cosmico chasing you the entire time, which is fun. Alright, I'm doing a bunch of short little jumps while I'm moving here. Doing these short little jumps is actually slightly faster than just walking. That was pretty good. Alright, I might have touched that star a bit before grabbing the star, I don't know. But overall, that was still really solid. Again, missing our purple coin is super annoying because then you have to backtrack for it while Cosmic Coins are chasing you. Alright, now we're going to get into the real meat of this part of the run. So, next star I'm going to do is Boulder Bowl One. And this star has changed positions in the route like 3 times. So, I'm doing it after doing stars in Chomp Works for a very specific reason. And you'll find out that reason after the star. But for the star itself, there's going to be a gravity exploit I'm going to use to skip directly from the first planet to the third planet. And you can do it both with or without the rock mushroom. But I need to get the rock mushroom here because I need to get the comet medal. So there's a very interesting way I'm going to do the skip for this star. So when you normally go on a ramp, you normally actually take the ramp and get launched off of it to the next section. But if you do a spin jump onto the ramp, it actually prevents the ramp from taking effect, and it allows you to turn and jump off the ramp. So by doing that on the upcoming ramp here, I can actually maintain just enough speed and momentum to jump off the ramp to the left, and then go straight into the gravity field of the third planet. That should work. And so that just skips the entire second planet, which is a very big time save. And there's multiple other ways to do that skip, but I believe that is the current second fastest method. Alright. And now we're off to fight Rolodilla, which is probably one of the most awkward bosses to fight in the run. This first hit's actually pretty easy. But then the second, third, and fourth hits are where it gets really difficult. So if I end up in Rolodillo's line of sight, he'll start this rolling attack that wastes quite a bit of time. So I want to try to stay outside of that by going in from behind. But Rolodillo's trying to chase you while you're trying to chase him. So it's very, very awkward to do this because of the angles, and especially to do it in one roll. And also, I'm going to try to do these jump spins to extend the length of Mario's roll. And if your angling is just slightly bit off, then you'll roll past Rolodillo, and that's usually really bad. But that was a really good fight. Right. And then Rock Mario's hitbox gets pretty big when you form into Rock Mario, so I can grab the star like that. So, similar to what you saw in Honey Bloom's Secret, I'm going to get taken down to the engine room because I just got Boulder Bowl One. But because I just got both Boulder Bowl One and a star from Chomp Works, I'm going to get a mail-toad letter for Boulder Bowl letter. And so, similarly to what you saw earlier, I'm going to get warped straight out of the engine room to the mail-toad to get that letter, which will just save some travel time on the starship. And speaking of Boulder Bowl letter, that's actually the next star I'm going to do. So I have to re-enter Boulder Bowl 1 for this mission, and I don't need the rock mushroom here, so you'll get to see me... Well, I don't need the rock mushroom at first, so you'll get to see me do Boulder Bowl 1 skip without the rock mushroom. It's a little bit easier than what you saw in Boulder Bowl 1. This long jump past the bridge here can be a little bit finicky because of the camera. Right. But then from here it's super easy. You just run up the ramp, long jump to the left, spin, and there you go. And now I have to escort this Goomba over to the nearby Gearmo. And I'm going to manipulate the Goomba by getting hit here so that it stops. Otherwise I risk having it stop in the middle of the path. And if it gets crushed, then I have to go back for the other Goomba. And you only get 2 Goombas in this mission. So if both of them die, you have to restart the level. Also, the game can just randomly soft lock when that cutscene starts for no reason. It's really rare, though. And if it does happen, fortunately, this game does autosave. So it's an inconvenient time loss instead of killing the run. But it didn't happen there, so we're good. Alright. And now we're going to be getting a nice long span of comets. After Lava flaps his gums some more. So the next star I'm going to do is a Hightail Falls Comet. So this is basically just going to be Hightail Falls 1, but on a time limit. Unlike Sky Station, there's none of those additional clocks I need to grab, and you get way too much time to complete the mission. So this is mostly going to be pretty similar to what you saw in Hightail Falls 1, except there's holes and meteors in the ground, which for the most part aren't an issue. And then since I don't need the Comet Medal this time around, since this is the Comet, I'm going to be doing a slightly different strat for the end. But for the most part, at first, this will play very similar to Hightail Falls 1, where I'm just going to try to get the Dash Pepper and hold on to it for as long as possible. It's worth noting that if I'm running up a completely vertical wall with Yoshi and I bonk on something head-on, I'll actually fall all the way down. And that's very possible to happen in this next section here. So I have to be really careful when I do the tight maneuver here. It's also worth noting that most comets don't have checkpoints, so dying anywhere in them is usually really bad. So here's where it's going to kind of start to diverge from Hightail Falls 1. So instead of doing that infinite flutter to skip the launch star, I'm actually going to take the launch star and do go for a pretty big jump here to skip the entire last section. Nice. So there's a variable in this game known as tilt, where depending on depending on a planet's gravity, it can determine how far forwards or backwards your character is leaning. And if you're leaning far back, then your jumps will actually go a lot higher. And so obviously by jumping at the very edge of that vertical wall, you're leaning super far back, so your jump will gain a lot of height. And that is faster if you're not getting the Comet Medal. Okay. So next up is Boulder Bowl Comet, and you're gonna want to get your blesses out. You're gonna want to get your blessings out for this star, because this star is basically all RNG. There's not too many RNG elements in this run, but this is definitely one of the bigger ones. So there's 30 crabbers I have to kill on the planet where Flotilla was with Rock Mario, and crabbers just kind of move however they feel like it. And if I don't get all of them within a minute, then I have to restart the entire level, which is obviously really bad, so let's not do that. So my basic strategy here is going to be to hope that they group up until I reach about like 24, until I start getting into like the 20s, and then I'll start focusing on more individual ones. But I'm going to try to aim for some big combos here. Another nice thing about the rock mushroom that the game never tells you about is that you can actually jump out of it early by pressing A and then Z, and it makes this star way, way easier. Right, this blue crabber is kind of annoying me. Blue crabbers have really erratic movement. I really want to get you. Very nice. So now I'm sort of in the 20s, so I can kind of start focusing on some of the groups of one here. I'm going to try to roll all the way around here so I can get to where the star is. That wasn't too bad overall. It could have been a little bit better if that blue crabber hadn't trolled me so many times. But really, as long as you finish the star with like over 10 seconds remaining, it was okay. I've had to finish that star with 1 second left on the timer. And optimally, I'll finish with like 20 plus seconds. Okay, so we've just got 1 star left in this second cleanup part of the run. After we get another Rosalina letter. So I'm actually going to be able to go straight to Bowser Jr.'s Fiery Flotilla by just going through the beginning of World 1 and taking this portal back here. And now I'm going to be doing Fiery Flotilla's Comet. So this is going to be a fight against Gobblegut, but on a time limit. And I'll basically be going for exactly what you saw me go for in the first fight, where I'm going to be trying to attack Gobblegut's belly egg bulges in midair. Hopefully it goes exactly the same as it did last time, otherwise we're in for a fun time. So again, I have to make sure I get all these hits without missing any of them, without messing up my movement. This first phase is usually the easier of the two. Alright, good start. So again, I'm going to be running down and in a straight line so Gobblegut gets closer to the planet, and then I have to turn around at a very specific time. Right there. Right. 2 for 2 perfect Gobbleguts. That's very good. Again, it takes a lot of practice to get that fight down. And any mistake can easily cost you like up to 20 seconds or more, because it's a very hard fight to recover. And that is it for this second cleanup. So now I'm gonna head back to World 4 and finish off what I was doing there. But we still have a few more Comet Stars to get through before we can get to some new material. So, the 2 purple coin comets that I couldn't get earlier, I'm going to be able to get them now, and we're going to start with Sweet Mysteries Comet. This is a deceptively difficult star, mainly because you want to spend as much time as possible walking on with Yoshi, because Yoshi runs really, really fast. But Yoshi's speed makes it really, really hard to collect purple coins without slowing down and without missing any. So this is a star that takes a lot of focus. Also, whenever I jump in this star, I'm going to actually double tap A's to do a short flutter, so that Yoshi spends as little time in the air as possible. So, probably not going to be talking much during this star. Alright, surprised I got that. Getting those 2 lines of purple coins without missing any is very precise. You need a very good lineup for it. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. It's super easy to have something like that happen, and then you have to backtrack for it. So if I place... I think I've already choked it, but if you play super well in this section, you can actually make a super fast cycle. I might still have a shot at it, actually. Oh, I barely missed it. If you get to this block fast enough, you can reach it before it goes too far to the right, and you can grab that first purple coin without having to wait for it. But I was just a little bit too slow. That was really close, though. And overall, not a bad level. Alright, so that level is just overall very tricky to do quickly. Takes a lot of practice. This next star, however, is also very tight. So this Flipsville's Comet is going to require collecting 100 purple coins in the 2D section where I got the silver stars in Flipsville 2, meaning this is going to be a very cycle-based star. And the route I'm going to be going for requires very, very tight cycles, especially in the first half. I'm also going to have to take advantage of the fact that whenever you drill with the spin drill, your hitbox becomes absurdly big for some reason, and this can allow me to collect huge chunks of purple coins with just a single drill. And I'm going to try to abuse that a lot in this star. So hopefully this goes well. So far, so good. Right, this last room is probably the last tricky part, because you have to do that side flip, and side flips in 2D are not the easiest thing to do. Side flips in this game in general are not easy to do. Hopefully I can kill this fuzzy. Alright, I didn't, so I'm gonna have to wait here. Otherwise it'd be in the way. So I basically made all the cycles here. This is a star that's this is another star that's super easy to snowball if you make one single mistake and miss a cycle. Nice! I was able to get that instant star grab. That's very rare. That was a really, really good Flipsville Comet. That was basically that strategy executed perfectly. Yeah, 103 in-game time there is very good for the route I used. And we just got one more Comet left. And that is actually going to be Chompworks Comet. So this is going to entail the last planet of Chompworks 1, but with Cosmic Clones. In other words, it's basically just going to be an auto-scroller. But it's still a pretty fast star. So this star, you can get a frame-perfect IL time of 51.20 seconds. I'm probably not going to get it in this run, but I'll probably get at least somewhat close, hopefully. The only real optimization you can do here is breaking this Chomp as soon as the cutscene that spawns the Cosmic Clone starts. So like that. And then from there, you just need to not lose time. So again, I have to be mindful of these Cosmic Clones so that I don't accidentally bump into them. So I'm going to be trying to kind of keep them off my tail for most of this star. Right. That hit doesn't matter. Right now I'm going to try to long jump into the star as early as possible. So, coming up is going to be an interesting world map optimization that was only recently realized within the last year. So, I have enough stars to activate the barrier to Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet. So I'm going to actually do that now, and that's why I did that cleanup session earlier. And what this is going to do is this is going to allow me to unlock both the path to Gravity Gauntlet, but then also the path to this spot from Starshine Beach. So why am I doing this? Well, normally after I get my first star from Starshine Beach, there would be a path unlock cutscene for that path. But since I basically just unlocked 2 paths with 1 cutscene, I skip an entire path unlock cutscene, and that saves about 5 seconds. So that's the entire reason why that cleanup session was added to the midway through World 4. Just so we could have enough stars to do that. Okay. So Starshine Beach Galaxy is pretty much an open world galaxy. One of the few in the game, as a matter of fact. So for this first star, there's silver stars spread all about, and there's a pretty straightforward route we can get to them with Yoshi, who doesn't dissolve when he touches water in this game. So to start, I'm going to get on Yoshi, I'm going to eat this crabber, and then we're going to infinite flutter up to this first silver star here. I have to walk right up to this tower and then fire the crabber. And then I can infinite flutter straight from here to the tower where the second silver star is. The perspective makes this flutter a little bit difficult to line up, but this is pretty good. And then here I can grab the dash pepper, and the dash pepper actually allows me to run on deep water. So I'll be using this to speed this last part of the star up. Okay, hopefully this last part goes well. Nice, I barely got that. So that dismount is sort of similar to what I showcased in Hightail Falls 1, where you can dismount off of Dash Yoshi while going up a super high slope. And you can just get a lot of height. Okay, so this Comet Medal you have to dedicate like 10 seconds to getting. It's one of the more out-of-the-way Comet Medals we get in the run, but it will allow me to get one of the fastest Comet Stars in the run. And it's at the very end of the run too, so it is still worth getting. Alright, that was a very good Starshine Beach one. There's a lot of variance to how that star can go, so I'll definitely accept that. Okay, so the next star, Starshine Beach 2. This is normally it's supposed to be another pretty long roundabout star, where I have to do a bunch of steps in order to get Cloud Mario over to the central tower so I can climb it with clouds. But we're going to make use of that cloud jumping technique I used in Honey Bloom 1 to have to skip doing all of that. Now, Mario's normal jumps are not normally quite sufficient enough to get to the highest cloud, so we're going to get a helping hand from our buddies from Pianta 5. Alright, so that's a jump cancel that I just got there. That's the frame perfect jumps I've been going for at the start of almost every star. That's actually the first time I've gotten one. So I'm going to long jump over to the chuckster that's closest to the tower. And on my way there, I'm going to turn the camera so I can manipulate the cloud cycles. That. And then the goal here is to have this chuckster throw me onto the highest cloud. And then I can jump off of it within that 6-frame window, and then just get on top of the tower and skip basically having to do anything in this level. Okay, so we've collected a bunch of stars in this world segment, but now we're finally going to be able to move on to the boss level of World 4. After another Starship event, of course. So the boss level of World 4 is Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet, and what's really interesting about this level is just there's so many different gravity exploits you can use to skip massive chunks of the stage, and a few of them involve lava boosting, so you'll be seeing me go for 2 different variants of the skipping most of the stage in this run. The one I'm going to be going for on this star is called Behind the Castle. It's kind of the more traditional variant. So I need to do it on this star because I need to go a little bit out of my ways to get the Comet Medal here, and the Comet Medal is right next to where you perform Behind the Castle.
Yes.
So the basic TLDR of this skip is that there's lava behind the 2D castle, and by lava boosting at a specific distance away from the castle, I'm actually able to enter the gravity field of the final 2D section. And I need the life mushroom in order to do it because there's going to be some lava boosting. So this skip is way, way harder than it looks, and failing it means death, and it's about a 40-second death, so hopefully I get this. Oh boy. Okay, so I messed it up there, so we're... Okay, that's bad. So I lost the additional health, so I'm gonna have to go through the level normally. So what I was trying to do there was get behind this part of the castle here, and I would have done some lava boosting and gone directly into the final 2D section of the level, but I failed to get on top of the pillar, so that ended up not working out. So you get to see the entire normal level, so that's a pretty big time loss. So if I had actually done the skip, I would have lava boosted behind the castle a few times, and I would have ended up roughly around here. But unfortunately, we're just going to have to deal with that time loss. Okay. So now the rest of the stage is going to play out pretty similarly to Lava Lair. So you can actually hit 2 of these locks at once, but it's stupidly precise and there's really no good setups for it. So you usually just go for the 3 locks separately. So that was probably about like 30 seconds or so. Due to not being able to do that skip, I did try to go back to get some health, but that didn't work out. Anyways, now it's time for the second Bowser fight. So in this fight, Bowser only drops 2 meteors at a time instead of 3. And since Bowser can actually punch out the meteors, that means it's very easy for him to punch out both of them at once if your positioning is bad. So I'm going to try to avoid that happening in this fight. There's also shockwaves coming off of Bowser's punches and the meteors, so there's a lot more I have to dodge here. And this first hit has a little something special behind it. So once Bowser summons the meteors and does his punch, I'm actually going to wait for him to start another punch attack before ground pounding the meteor into him. That might have been too early. Yeah, that was too early. So if I had done that just like a little bit later, Bowser wouldn't have done that punch, and that would have netted me a little bit of time save. But I don't need to do that punch cancel technique anymore for the rest of the fight. And so the rest of this fight's going to play out similarly to the rest of the fight with Lava Lair. One thing that's important to note about these fights is that Bowser's shell can actually deflect the meteors, and it seems like his hitbox actually grows with each fight. It's usually not a huge problem in this fight or the Lava Lair fight, but in the final fight, it can be a massive issue. So I just have to pay close attention to where I'm hitting him. Okay, I do not like that positioning at all, so I'm going to actually try to lure Bowser away from the meteors. So that was not a very good fight. Yeah. Probably one of the first major time losses of this run. Anyways, that's finally it for World 4. So we gotta sit through all these cutscenes and dialogue again. Okay, so we're about 2/3 of the way through the run now, give or take. And the next world we're going to do, World 5, is a pretty short world segment overall. There's not too many stars we're going to be collecting here. But this last third of the run, this final hour, is definitely the hardest part of the run for sure. Worlds 5 and 6 are just full of late game run enders. Alright. Okay. But we're roughly in the what I would call the late game portion of this run now. So the first star I have to get in World 5 is Space Storm 1. There is literally no other option for me at this point to progress. Fortunately, it's not a very long star. And Space Storm 1 is where we're finally going to get introduced to Pole Stars, which are also pointer-based. So the first big thing to note about Space Storm 1 is that the second planet has a bunch of elevators and lasers that move on cycles, and if I'm fast enough, I can actually make a pretty tight cycle through here, and there's one particular long jump I need to do that's very precise, that saves about 5 seconds in those cycles. So, it's coming up right here at the start. Oh. I'm not gonna make it. So that's gonna be a pretty big time loss. So I would have made that a cycle earlier if I hadn't messed up my movement there. Actually, I might have still made that cycle just a little bit late, I don't know. Whatever the case may be, we're moving on here. So I have to lure this pop bomb over here to break some glass so I can get inside the planet. And then from there, instead of walking all the way around, I can just long jump to the launch star. So this last section contains a bunch of pole stars, and optimizing pole stars is a lot more difficult than you'd think, because in order to conserve your momentum, you have to release yourself from the pole star before you reach its center. And with all the crap you have to be keeping track of here, that's very hard to do. That wasn't too bad, though. And now that I've gotten Space Storm 1, I basically have access to the entirety of World 5 from here on out. But I'm going to stay behind to do Space Storm 2, which is another one of the fastest stars in the run. It actually pays homage to a buoy-based galaxy from the first game, but it even has the buoy-based music, but you're not going to be able to hear much of it. Hopefully. If I don't mess up too badly. So Space Storm 2 has a bunch of obstacles that are moving much faster than normal. So you're supposed to hit these blue switches to slow down time. But obviously you don't really have to do that, so I'm going to try to get through this level without hitting any of them. And there's two pretty big, large-scale shortcuts I can do in this star. The first is on this first planet here. So instead of going to the right and doing all that stuff, I can just jump onto this left wall here. And then kind of just skip all the way up to this midsection of the level. And then I can backflip off this swamp as it's rising up to give me some upwards momentum. And then with a precise triple jump, I can get to this star without having to use the top man. So that was a very good star. That's about as optimal as you can do that star, so very happy with how that went. And now I can move into the bulk of World 5, where we'll be getting a few interesting stars. So So we're going to start by going to SuperViperT Galaxy, and we're going to start with SuperViperT Secret. So, if anybody's paying attention in chat, if you were here for Freezy Flake Secret earlier, and you either didn't get the score correct or you weren't able to guess, this is your second opportunity to do that. So this time, the range to scores to pick is from 600 to 900, and you still want to guess only in multiples of 10. And once again, if nobody gets it exactly right, my rule is whoever's closest ahead or behind wins. So to get to this Chimp Challenge minigame here early, we're going to grab the Cloud Flower here and sort of ride across this gap here. And in terms of the minigame itself, this is pretty much the exact same as the one in Freezy Flake, except the score threshold is 100 points higher, which actually makes it a bit harder than you'd think. But the patterns you can get here are still the same. And I got a different pattern this time. So I think the score I got last time was 730, so let's try and beat that. That's fine. Here, even though I said it's a bit harder than you think, the score is still pretty generous. If you're good with your movement and your skating and you know the patterns, you have quite a bit of leeway. Alright, 840 is really good for me. So, if you guess correctly on that, you win bragging rights, and nothing else. We will see the chimp one more time, but unfortunately that minigame isn't very good for guessing scores, so hope you had fun with the two that we got to have. And now I'm going to re-enter SuperViperT, and we're actually going to do SuperViperT 1, and this is a very interesting level to do. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do here. So right from the start, there's a gravity exploit I can do with Cloud Mario, where I can skip directly from the beginning of the first planet to the end of the last planet. The setup I'm going to be doing for this is actually quite precise. So I'm going to grab the Cloud Flower here and then kind of long jump off this platform here, and I have to make my clouds at specific intervals and long jump at specific times. And I have to be low enough. It should work. Nice. So now I have to detour a little bit past the launch star here in order to grab the Comet Medal. And I'm going to intentionally lose the Cloud Flower here by Lava Bisting, because I want to lose the floaty effect in order to get through this next section a little bit easier. And then here I'm turning the camera to manipulate the timing of the ice crystals that are about to fall from the sky here. And then you're supposed to hit coconuts back at these guys to make a bridge to this section, but you can just long jump past them. Alright. So here is Prince Bacante. So there are faster strats for this fight, but I'm going to do a strat that has no randomness tied to it. So I'm actually going to intentionally skip this first coconut. You're supposed to spin these coconuts back at Prince Bacante. I'm going to intentionally skip that one, and then hit this first one back to him from far away. So what I'm doing is setting up Prince Bacante so that he's never on this side of the battlefield during the second or third hits, because that causes him to do this upwards firing attack that you can use for a faster strat, but it's very RNG dependent. And the strat I'm doing here only is barely any slower and has no randomness tied to it. So, overall, pretty safe strat there for that fight. That was a pretty good level. So I'm gonna get the final Mail Toad ladder here from Rosalina, and after this I'll be at the 1800 star bits I need for Flash Black, which will be in World 6. I'm not gonna be getting the Hungry Luma in World 5 because it's slow. Flake Glide isn't worth it in this run. Okay, so this is where the route's gonna get a little bit weird. So first of all, I'm gonna be heading to Boom Moon to get Boom Moon 1. As it turns out, this star is no longer fast enough to be in the route, but the strat that's required to replace this star is really, really stupid, and I'm not good enough at it yet. So we're just gonna do Boom Moon 1 for now. This star's still pretty cool, though. So Boom Moon 1's gonna start out kind of boring. There's a couple of snake block auto-scrollers you kind of have to go through, but then it's gonna get pretty interesting pretty quickly. Alright, so this first planet, it's actually a bit more curved than you'd think, so it's only faster to long jump at the beginning and at the end of it. And everywhere else, you just kind of want to do these short little hops. Alright, so right there, it's not normally possible to go into first-person mode. There's a few other places in the game that are like that. But if you press up on the D-pad on the first frame you land, then you can still do a camera cancel. So that's what I was trying to go for there. Alright, so here's a little interesting trick I can do here. So I'm going to head up here, activate this wall so that the gravity field will activate, and then head back to the snake block. And then I can jump onto the snake block so I'm standing on the side of it. And then I can long jump off and reach this launch star early. So that skips about the last half of doing the snake block section to get to that launch star, and it makes the star fast. And then from here, the rest of the star is pretty self-explanatory. We just gotta get all these silver stars. Alright, so if time permits after this run, I may try and show off the other star that the star is replaced with, but that also depends on whether or not the incentive gets fit, which, by the way, if you have not donated to the Perfect Run incentive yet, please do. You do not want to miss me try that star. Alright. So here's where the route's going to get even weirder, because there is another star in Boom Moon I'm going to get, but I'm going to save that for later, and we're going to go to Upside Dizzy. And the reason why I'm doing this is so I can overlap world map events, such as Comet Spawns, with text boxes that you get on the... with text boxes that you get after completing various stars in ways that save, like, fractions of time. So this route might seem a little bit weird for World 5, but it does save time. Alright. So here is Upside Dizzy. This is basically the sequel level to Right Side Down Galaxy. Except it's even more confusing. This star is... Upside Dizzy 1 is very, very cycle-based. And basically any mistake will just throw you off completely. Right from this first backflip, this star is difficult. So I'm gonna make my way, I'm gonna long jump into this gravity field so I get launched up super high here. And then here I'm supposed to hit a switch to cause the gravity to switch here, but I can actually get in here with a precise Luma Bounce. Nice. And this room is pain. Oh boy, that's not good. So basically any mistake in this room completely throws you off. Because this room is just all about cycles. Alright, I think I'm like one full cycle behind. So that's, could be worse. Yeah, if you get thrown off in that room at all, it is very, very difficult to recover. But I got lucky in that I was thrown off exactly by one cycle, so I was able to sort of do movement I was familiar with. If you don't have a consistent movement path through that room, you're just going to stumble through it. Okay, so I'm going to re-enter Upside Dizzy again to get the secret star, kind of like right side down. So there's a precise Luma Bounce I need to go for here to get into the secret pipe, and Mario can just kind of randomly flip his direction in midair sometimes, so we're gonna hope that doesn't happen. Also, hi Luigi. And bye Luigi. Alright, nice, you got it. So now there's just going to be another box burning minigame. This one's a much timer to do than right side down, but I'd say it's easier to do quickly. An important thing to note here about Fire Mario, though, is that the fireballs don't actually come out of his center, they come out of his right hand. So I need to be a little bit to the left of where I actually want to aim. Alright, that was really good. A 9 on the timer there is optimal. And this will be the last time that I'll be brought down to the engine room in this run, which is nice. And it's just as useless as every other time. Last time I gotta do this movement. So now I'm done with Upside Dizzy, I can go back to Boom Moon and get the other star I want to get there. So this is another instance where I have to make sure I select Boom Moon 1 and not auto-select Boom Moon 2 by accident. Because otherwise that would be another 30-second time loss. So overall, Boom Moon's secret is not too entertaining. I can't do the skip for Boom Moon 1 that I did. I can't do the skip here that I did in Boom Moon 1. So we're just going to kind of have to settle for taking all the snake blocks. Fortunately, you can still bypass some of them with long jumps and whatnot, but for the most part, this level's just kind of waiting around. By the way, in case you're wondering, the stuff below me is dark matter. It instantly kills you if you touch it, so I've got to be careful not to fall in there. And there's a Comet Medal on the way here, we might as well grab it. So the secret, there's a secret set of snake blocks right past this launch star, and you're supposed to ride them all the way to the star, but you can pretty easily just long jump straight to it from there. If you ever play this game casually, I would recommend just doing that skip instead of playing through the snake block, because those Octoboos are by far some of the most annoying enemies in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Alright. So I just need one more star before I can access the barrier to Bowser Jr.'s Boom Bunker, which will be the Grand Star World of World 5. And that's going to be Sugarburn Comet. So this will be the third Romp Comet in the run here. This one's pretty straightforward. You basically just have to kill 30 Octoomba enemies on the planet where Prince Bacante was in Sugarburn 1. And you're using Rainbow Mario for this again. So you might think that skating would be the fastest way to clear all these enemies once you get the Rainbow Star, but not only is Rainbow Mario's top speed a little bit faster than if you were to skate, you can also make sharper turns while just running. So I skated there to build up some momentum, and then I jumped out of the skate, and I'm just going to run for the remainder of the star. And I should be able to get all 30 of these Octoombas with a single Rainbow Star. Alright, that was pretty good. Okay, so now we're getting to a star that a lot of people have strong negative feelings towards, including myself. So next we're going to be doing Bowser Jr.'s Boom Bunker. So I haven't really had to do any motion control based levels in this run, like the Fluzzard levels or the wall rolling levels. That's not going to change, but this level is required to beat the game, and it has cannon shots in it. and cannon shots are pointer-based. This wouldn't be a problem if the 2 cannon shots I had to make in the star they're very, very precise. Missing either of them usually means death, and they're not short deaths either. And it's very difficult to hold a Wii Remote steadily in order to aim these cannon shots properly, so we're going to hope for the best here. This first one is definitely the tighter of the two, and the more costly of the two. So I had to start by lowering this bullet bill over here to break some glass. And now I'm going to get in this cannon and try to aim at the Boomerang Bro's face. That might be bad. Okay, so I was supposed to hit the Boomerang Bro and then instantly kill it, but this isn't that much slower. I was a little far to the left there. That's still better than outright dying. Anyway, this next cannon shot is thankfully a little bit more forgiving. And then you're actually supposed to use a class to get to the end of this next section, but with a precise long jump from here, you don't need to do that. Not a perfect stage, but for a marathon run, that's acceptable. And here is Bowser Jr.'s Boomsday Machine, so now we get to actually fight Bowser Jr. himself. The first part of this fight is not too bad. You just have to get to the top of Bowser Jr. You just have to get to the top of the Boomsday Machine and then ground pound the cockpit using the clouds. And then for the second hit, I have to wait a little bit because the cockpit is invulnerable until the electricity stops flowing throughout the body. So I have to wait a little bit here. So that's about as early as I could have gone. And then this third hit is the tricky part. I have very little time to get high enough to get to the top of this Boomsday Machine before it catches up to me. There we go. And this is why Bowser Jr. isn't in Odyssey. Because that's supposedly where he canonically dies. And there we go. So at this point, we just have World 6 left. So we've got about 40 minutes, give or take, left in the run. But World 6 is definitely the part of the run where runs go to die. A lot of really difficult stars here, a lot of really difficult tricks, and a lot of really easy ways to kill your run. And mistakes are not small mistakes here, usually, either. But we're roughly in the home stretch here. And this will be the last time we have to watch all these cutscenes, so that's nice. Okay, so World 6 is going to start off with Melting Monster Galaxy. I'm actually going to be able to collect all 3 stars from this galaxy in one go. It's not something you normally are able to do. So I'm going to start with Melting Monster 1, and this star has a few small things going for it, but nothing too significant. So the big thing to note about this level is that in the second section, right here, you'll notice there's some tornadoes right there. Those tornadoes are on global cycles from the moment I enter the level. So I have to play really, really quickly in order to make a fast cycle there. And I have this full star section to go through first. I have to get some momentum from that full star so I can reach the launch star. That was pretty good. And then in this second section, there's just a bunch of mini platforming skips that I have to do here. Alright, that's a frame-perfect camera cancel that I did there. I'm gonna grab this life mushroom here to do some lava boosting. I should be able to make this. Okay, now I'm not gonna make this. So I'm missing this tornado cycle, that's just a few seconds. The main time loss from it is I'm gonna have to take this extra tornado here. If I hadn't missed this cycle, I would have been able to skip that second tornado. But we're gonna have to opt for this. I'm gonna grab this coin for safety. So this final section is very difficult to play through because every single one of these planets has its own gravitational sphere. Man, there's magmas around here. I can skip the first few planets by doing that precise long jump there. And then from here, I just kind of have to platform through here and make all these cycles with the magmas. Oh boy, that's not good. I'm gonna wait for this magma to get out of my way. And then if you hit this crystal from the left side, it's a lot easier than if you were to try to hit it anywhere else. Crystals in this game are usually very fickle to break. Here. Alright, not a clean run through of that star, but I'll take what happened there over a death. Very easy for deaths to happen on that star if you get a little out of control. Okay. And then the other two stars actually revolve around using Rock Mario, and they can be pretty easy if you go for safe strats, or run enders if you go for hard strats. And obviously I'm going to go for hard strats. And I'm going to be doing them in the order 1 to S instead of any other order because when I re-enter the galaxy for the third time, only 2 stars will show up on the star select menu. And if I were to do Melty Monster Secret 1 as the first or second star, then 3 stars would show up this third time around. And that would waste a little bit of time. So Melty Monster 2 overall is another one of those pretty straightforward stars where you're just kind of rolling around with Rock Mario. This is a really good star for farming star bits if you ever need to do that.
Yes.
Messed up my angling there. So basically once I take these ramps, I'm kind of on a straightforward path to the end. There is, however, one minor little trick you can do in this level to save some time, and it's going to be at the very end of the star, and I may or may not going for it depending on how I feel. So it's referred to as a zigzag skip because there's a section at the end of the level where you're supposed to take, you're supposed to go back and forth across a couple of fences to redirect your angle, but there's actually tiny gaps in the center that you can roll across instead with very precise positioning and timing. And it saves only about 3 seconds if you get it, and wastes about like 45 if you miss it and die, so try it here. Alright, nice, I got it, and I was able to not die, and hopefully I can get the star. The star's hitbox is very fickle, there we go. So the hard part of that skip is actually turning back in time in order to jump onto the platform without rolling off the right side and falling off. And, another thing that's annoying about that star is that those fences can actually just knock you in a random direction for no reason. Which can also kill you, so it's kind of a darn if you do, darn if you don't star. Alright. Alright, Melty Monster Secret. This is the star that's easy if you do easy strats, and terrible if you do fast strats. So, this is the third and final chimp challenge of the run. There are 56 pins I need to hit. And there are 56 pins in total, and I need to hit at least 50 of them, but in order to speed up the process, if you remember that ramp canceling technique I used in Boulder Bowl 1 to do the Boulder Bowl 1 skip, I'm going to be trying to abuse that here to speed this up. This is very, very tricky. I'll explain what I'm doing after this is done, by the way. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm using those as spin jumps to cancel the ramp's effects, but in such a way that I can jump to the next platform instead of actually rolling all the way there. And that actually allows me to continue rolling when I reach the next platform. But these jumps are really hard. And as you just saw there, mistiming them even slightly means death. I'm already 3 pits short here, so this might be a problem. Alright, I just need to go a little bit later for that one. There we go. So that saves about, so doing those ramp jumps saves about like, I don't know, 2 seconds or so each time you get one. So I did 4 of them there, and even though I died to one, that's still a pretty good amount of time save. The one I die to is admittedly the one I struggle with the most. Another thing about Rock Mario is that just in general, if you do a jump, it's faster to also add in a shake after that because it moves you forward a little bit. So that was it for Melty Monster. Not a very clean run through of Melty Monster. But at least we're done with that galaxy now. So now I'm going to be taking the bottom path first, and this is going to be the final Hunger Luma I feed in the run. So this is what I have all the 1800 star bits for, and I'm taking the bottom path as opposed to the top path because the top path has a path called has a galaxy called Battle Belt, which is not very useful in any percent. So we're gonna not do that. And Flash Black just gives us access to 2 really fast stars anyways, so it's worth unlocking anyways. So the gimmick with Flash Black is another pretty interesting one. So the way this galaxy works is that you only get a brief glimpse of the level's layout every few seconds, and then the rest of the time it's in complete darkness. But with enough playthroughs of the level, you can easily memorize the layout. And for the most part, this is another star that doesn't have a whole lot going for it. This first section is just kind of climbing up the mansion as Blimp Yoshi. And the only really notable part of this first part is at the very end. So right here, I'm actually going to offset the flutter timer by fluttering just before arriving that flower grapple so that Yoshi continues fluttering after I let go of it. And that just gives me enough height to do this properly. So this is just some cool movement here to get that Comet Medal. And then in this final section, I just have to collect a bunch of silver stars. There's a yellow platform at the very end of this section that's on a cycle here, and its position seems to be different almost every time you play this level. But it's in a pretty good position here. Alright, I long jumped there with a very bad angle, so I almost died, but luckily the spin saved me there. Alright, hopefully I don't walk off the edge here. Thankfully, when you're playing as Mario, it does not take a whole lot of acceleration to begin a long jump. Alright, and now we have a nice little star where you can kindly take a nap. Because this next star, the only reason this star is in the route is because it's better to do than Battle Belt, but not by much. So this galaxy is a Slimy Spring Galaxy, and it's a sort of a nice little it's sort of a nice little breather galaxy, I'd say. You're basically just spending 2 minutes underwater with the shell. And, yeah, not much to say aside from that. So there's going to be another slope boost at the start of this. This will be the third and final one I get to show off in this run. Nice. And I'm going to hold Z as I enter the water here just so I can sink under a little bit quicker. And now we just kind of swim. So I know I've been talking this entire run, but this would be a great time if there's any announcements that need to be made. This would be a great time to do that. If the host is here. Or if chat has any questions, that might also be a good time. So, at the start of this section, there's some precise movement I can do here to try and complete this level coinless so I can avoid the coin text box. These speed rings do have coin bubbles inside of them, and their hitboxes are a bit bigger because of the bubbles. But if I touch the outer edge of these rings, I can hit the ring while dodging the coin like that. It's a little difficult to control the shell this precisely at such high speeds, and if you ram into a wall head-on with the shell, you lose it when you're moving at this speed. So you have to be kind of careful there. And then there's a couple of cool things I can do at the end here. First, I can do this cool jump out of the water combined with the shell toss to hit this chest. Uh-oh. Oh boy. I didn't get the jump out of the water. And I'm going to try to stand pretty close to Captain Toad here. I might be too close. So if I backflip from this position, his hitbox will actually push me outwards. And if I'm in the right position, which I don't think I am, I'll actually get pushed into the star. Okay, I was able to save it with a spin. So you can wake up now. Alright.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm going to actually go to the top path because there's a few stars I'm going to want to collect from there. So I'm going to have to do a bit of a long trek with some world map movements back. And we're going to start by taking Clockwork Ruins here. So Clockwork Ruins doesn't really give us a whole lot of options here, but I want to get a star from this galaxy to get to Throwback Galaxy, which is after this. Because that has stars that I'm going to want to collect. So I'm actually going to be collecting the secret star here. I need to collect 30 coins in this first section to get a Hungry Luma planet to unlock. This star is also very, very cycle-based, and this is a star you do not want to die on. Because otherwise the cycles are off in ways that are not favorable. So we're going to try to play it relatively conservatively here. By doing that fast triple jump there, I'm actually able to get to this second platform just in time to get a coin from here. And this will actually prevent me from having to get any coins at all from the third set of platforms, which will save a little bit of time. And then there's a 10 coin box here, which is very nice for this route. I was meant to land next to the Luma, not on top of it. So now at this point, the star is basically done, because this planet, normally you have to go around and hit a bunch of switches to slow down time again, but you can just triple jump wall kick up to where the star is pretty easily. Like that. And there you go, that's the level. So again, doing that star is worth it in order to get to a galaxy that I'm sure you're all going to really appreciate. Because if we got any Super Mario 64 fans in the chat, the next galaxy is actually going to be Throwback Galaxy, which is a remake of Whomp's Fortress from Super Mario 64. And I believe there is a Super Mario 64 16-star run later in the marathon. I don't remember who it's by. But this isn't going to be nearly as flashy as what you're going to see during that run. probably. So Throwback 1 is sort of a recreation of the Star Chip off Womp's block where you have to fight King Womp. So I do need to go to the top of the fortress, but before I do that, I have to take a detour over to where the Shoot into the Wild Blue Star is in order to get the Comet Medal. And this should be the last Comet Medal I collect in the route, and actually this will be the last Comet Medal I collect. And I believe I should be at 32 out of 32 out of this one, so that'll be nice.
Yes! Woohoo! Ah! Ah! Woohoo! Whee! Whee! Whee!
I'm just gonna kind of make my way over here. Getting up here, oh my god. Getting up here is way more difficult than it needs to. Oh my god. There we go. And I can do some platforming here to get back up. Or not. This part of the level is really infuriating sometimes. There we go. So you can actually skip killing the swamp by using it to clip you through the floor, and it could save like 5 seconds, but it's really, really precise, so I'm not going to bother with it. And now here we have the fight with the real King Womp. And unlike SM64, you actually can't pass through him, so I have to fight this guy more or less as intended. And I have to be careful. I actually have to be pretty careful with this fight because he spawns these whip enemies that are easy to get knocked down by. And if you're on the ground when he jumps, you'll actually get stunned. And this makes it very easy to get crushed and die. As long as you know what you're doing, this fight is pretty easy to do. So this star will have the last time that level will bring me down to the bottom of the starship. There is one more time that level is going to want to bother me in this run, but there's a way to skip that. So stay tuned for that. And I am good on Comet Medals. I did not miss any. That is very nice to see. And that's for this Comet to spawn. So Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet's Comet requires 32 Comet Medals, and it's fast enough to be in the route, so I need to collect enough Comet Medals for it. So Throwback 2 is going to be another Silver Star mission. The Silver Stars are just kind of placed in random locations around the level. But since this is an open world level and you get Cloud Mario, it's still a pretty entertaining star. And no, none of the Silver Stars are in like red coin positions or anything, if you're wondering that. So it doesn't really matter how fast I move here, because I have to wait for these cycles anyways. And then when I make this cloud to get the Silver Star, I need to make sure I don't make it too early. Otherwise, I wouldn't grab the Silver Star, and I would have had to wait for that cloud to expire. So I'm just kind of going around the level here. This is a pretty obvious route to take here. And we're going to do some cloud-boosted long jumps to get to this 4th Silver Star. Might still be able to make it up? Alright. So this is actually going to be the last normal star I collect in the run until Bowser's Galaxy Generator. Because from this point onwards, the remaining stars I'm going to be collecting are comets. And I'm going to be collecting 2 from World 4, then 2 from World 3, and then 2 from World 6, and that'll get me to the 70 stars that I need. So this will be the final cleanup session of the run. It's not going to be super long. So we're going to start by heading to World 4 and doing the Comet from Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet. While I head to World 5 so I can get to this a little bit quicker. So I wasn't able to do behind the castle in Gravity Gauntlet 1, but that's okay because I'll be attempting an even crazier skip here. So when you hit a lava wall as opposed to hitting a lava floor in this game, what's normally vertical momentum gets transferred to horizontal momentum. And since lava doesn't have any friction, you can actually accelerate really quickly. And I can use this exploit to do a gravity exploit that allows me to get to the end of the level really quickly. It is kind of precise though. Oh boy. So I'm gonna side flip into this little. I'm gonna ground pound here, which is a lava wall. And then by doing direction switches at very particular times, I can land right here. Alright, I'm gonna be pretty close on time here. I should be fine though. Yeah, I had some sloppy movement throughout that stage, but at least I got the skip first try. If you mistime any input there, it's very easy to die. Alright. So hopefully you found that skip impressive. And now we have a couple of breather stars, thankfully. The next few stars aren't terribly difficult. So next in line is Starshine Beach's Comet, so this is the Comet that I got that I went 10 seconds out of my way to get that Comet medal for in Starshine Beach 1, and you're going to see why here. So there are way more than 100 purple coins here, and you're on Dash Yoshi the entire time, and the purple coins are just kind of all in a straight line, so very, very fast star to complete. The only really tricky part about the star is that you want to try to make tiny adjustments to the control stick as you go along. Because I don't want to miss too many purple coins here. I've already missed 3, that's not too good. That made up for it. So if I have enough purple coins here, which I should, 91 is a really good number. I'm actually going to be able to take this cut off to the right here and skip a bunch of purple coins. And that's really only worth it to do if you have like 87 or more purple coins there. So that's a nice little cut you can do there. And so that's it for World 4. So now I'm just going to get the 2 comments I need from World 3. So we're in the home stretch here, I'd say. Alright, so first comment I'm going to get here is a Honeypulse comment, and I technically could have done this star earlier in the run, but for rounding convenience it's just better to do it here. This is basically just the last part of Honey Hall's. I don't know why I said Cosmico. It's the last part of Honey Halls 2, but with Cosmic Clones. It's still just a bunch of long jumps. The cycles are a little bit different, though, because of the cutscenes showing different stuff, but overall, it's still a pretty basic star.
Yes! Whee!
I hope you're not annoyed with that Cosmic Clone long jumping sound effects. Okay, now we're gonna get back to some of the more difficult stars with a Beat Block Comet. So, in the English version of this game, this star outright lies to you, because it actually says the blocks are moving in double time, which would mean they'd be switching every 4 beats, but they actually switch every 2 beats. And 8 divided by 2 is 4, so the blocks are actually moving 4 times as fast in this star. And also the area with the silver stars is expanded quite a bit. So you kind of have to be even more keeping good rhythms here in order to make sure you don't fall off accidentally. Fortunately, you get Yoshi in the star for some odd reason, so you can just kind of flutter to skip most of it, which is nice.
Yes! Whee! Woohoo! Woohoo! Whee! Woohoo! Woohoo! Woohoo!
So here's the infinite flutter here. And I'm going to be able to tongue this checkpoint, which is nice. And now here's the fun part. Okay, I'm gonna have to do a spin here to save myself, but I should be fine. Alright, we're good. That last section can be very scary. So that cleanup's already done, so we just have 2 stars left to meet the 70-star requirement. And to do that, we're going to head back to World 6. So the first of the 2 comets I'm going to get here is Throwback Comet. And if you loved Throwback 2, you're going to love this star, because it is basically the exact same thing. They're just, like, the timer is basically the only thing that changes here. However, there are going to be a couple of minor cycle differences, because the level intro cutscenes are going to show different parts of the level, but overall this will be the same as Throwback 2. So at the beginning here, the cycle with the pusher and the moving platforms are a bit tighter to make. I have to have pretty good long jumps to get past this. But from here on out, it's basically the same. One thing I didn't mention in Throwback 2 is that right here, I'm actually going to be kind of veering off to the right. Because, like I said, when you are long jumping from a cloud over an abyss as Cloud Mario, you can get a lot of speed. So, doing that just gives me a bit of a speed boost. Gotta do that series of jumps one more time. Okay, and we just have 1 star left before Bowser. And that is going to be Flash Black's Comet. So Flash Black's Comet is kind of interesting, because this is the final romp star in the game, but it doesn't have an interesting gimmick like either of the other ones do. So basically you're killing 30 of the Octumba enemies within a time limit, and you have a few different options to kill them. You can either spin attack them, you can jump on them, or you could shoot them with the star bit and then run into them. And generally the star bit option is more preferred because it allows you to keep your momentum, but you have to be able to do a bunch of things at once, keep track of a bunch of things while controlling Mario. This level's all about multitasking. So hopefully this goes well. Okay, I was just... Okay. That was close. I was just barely too slow there to kill that Octumba before it got unstunned. Alright. So That was scary. Here I get Yoshi, though, and since Yoshi can actually eat up multiple enemies at once, this is pretty useful. Alright, that was pretty sloppy. At least I didn't die. Okay. And now it's time for the infamous, ever so famous Purple Idiot Skip. Huge shoutouts to Oddme for finding this. So on the space before the Bowser's Galaxy Generator space, there's normally this like 30-second long cutscene that has to play, where Lava basically tells you that it's the final battle and all that. But there is a very, very big oversight that Nintendo made when designing the world map. So in addition to moving between world map spaces with the Wii Remote, you can also, with the nunchuck, you can also click on them with the Wii Remote. So it may not have looked like it, but I just skipped over a 30-second long cutscene. So that just happened. And now we have Bowser's Galaxy Generator. So this is a very, very good final level. There's a lot of really, really tough strats here, and a really, really tough final boss at the end. And there's some pretty flashy stuff in here too. So coming up here, we've got another lava wall boost I'm going to be doing to skip having to fight these Hammer Bros. You can get all the way down here. So I need to spin drill in order to get through that dirt there, but then I'm going to intentionally jump in the lava here to lose it, because I want to be able to long jump, because that will allow me to skip over parts of this section. Alright, I meant to try. I was trying to do a momentum conserving jump there, but I got weirdly eaten. This planet is all about cycles, and also dodging bolt bills. I did not get good cycles here. That was stupid. I tried to go a little bit faster than I should have. That's not a huge death, but it is annoying. Alright, I meant to grab that Cloud Flower. And we have one final Infinite Flutter coming up here, basically allow me to skip the entire rest of this stage. I have to do this Flutter in 2 parts, though, because of the 10-second cooldown. And this is definitely one of the cooler looking Infinite Flutters in the run. It is a tough one, though. So as soon as I get on Yoshi here, I'm going to side flip and flutter all the way up to the top of the castle here. And then from there, I can do a precise flutter all the way to the very end. And I have to control my height when I do this. Okay, that was dumb. I'm not gonna lie, that was really stupid. I dropped a flutter there and fell off, and as a result, when you hit lava, you can't recover from that. I had to die. Alright. Let's try that again. Alright, here we go. I have to control my height here, so if I go too high, I might accidentally soft lock and I'd have to leave the level. And by dismounting late enough here, I can conserve just enough momentum to get to the end. And there you go. Still not over yet, though. We still got the final Bowser fight. And this final Bowser fight is very easy to also kill runs too. So Bowser does go direct to dropping 3 meteors in this fight, but he is a lot quicker to pull out his punches, which means you have very little time to react for the most part. And again, missing hits in these fights wastes about 20 seconds each time it happens, so I really don't want that to happen. And once again, for this first hit, I'm going to be going for a punch cancel. So hopefully I can actually get to show it off this time. So again, I'm going to wait after Bowser drops all these meteors, and then I'm going to wait for him to start another punch attack after he punches here so I can cancel another one. That was again too early, I think. Oh, that was fine. Alright, so he was supposed to punch there, but he didn't. That was sort of bad positioning, but we still were able to get it to work. If you hit Bowser too late, you can actually risk hitting him while he's summoning the meteors and canceling that phase by accident. So for this third phase, I have to be really, really quick. These last two hits are definitely two of the harder ones. That's a good position, I think. So as you can see there, Bowser already pulled his fist out by the time I ground pounded, so you have very, very little time to react there. Fortunately, this fourth hit is pretty generous with time, because I just go straight into a cutscene. Right. At least the fight went well. So there is one more phase to the fight after this. The game kind of pulls a little fake out on you here. We have to kind of sit through these long cutscenes first. Can I get an update on the Perfect Run incentive? If anybody can give me that information. Oh yeah, by the way, here's Bowser again. So this final fight is pretty lame. Honestly, you just press A and Z 4 times and you win, basically. It's basically impossible to die in this fight also because Bowser's one attack actually drops a coin. Okay, I thought that wasn't gonna hit for a second. Alright, so we just got one more hit left. Alright. Time is going to be coming up here. It's technically when the Grand Star cutscene begins, but it's more traditionally when I touch the Grand Star. But since I'm in control of the timer, that doesn't really matter. So this is going to be like mid-ish 302. That's a little below average for my standards. My PB is a 259.56, though I could definitely bring that to a low 259. The world record is an astounding 256.43 by, or 46 actually, by Goryuya, who said it earlier today, and there's potential to take the record even lower. So this game has a lot of history left to write. So definitely check the other top runners of this game out, and definitely check this game out for yourself if you're interested. I hope this run was entertaining, even though end game, the late game portion of this run had a lot to be desired. And time. So 302.20 is what the timer says here. So let's see if I can get an update on not gonna happen. Alright. Well, since that's not gonna happen, and I finished 8 minutes ahead of estimate, I do have another run I'm gonna do after this, but I'm gonna kind of try something for you guys here. So, I mentioned during the run that the route I did wasn't exactly optimal, and I'm going to give a few cracks at the star that you would replace Boom Moon 1 with. So it is going to be Freezy Flake 2, and it involves a glitch known as mid-air rock jumps. So with the rock mushroom, you can actually chain infinite jumps in mid-air by jumping, and then while you're in mid-air, jumping and shaking at the same time. And Value 111 and Jada 7, Keegan Sim, and Doopsy were all responsible for finding a pretty decent way to grip the Wii Remote in such a way that you can do these semi-consistently. So you're going to notice that I'm holding both. I'm going to actually kind of demonstrate here. So you're going to notice, let's see if it's visible on the face cam or not. Okay. So you'll notice that I'm holding them with kind of like this type of grip, and when I mash the A remote when I mash the A button with my pointer finger, it will actually kind of nudge the Wii remote in such a way that it input shakes. So my goal is to try to chain those with this rock mushroom. I need to get about like 8 to 10 of these mid-air rock jumps in a row, and I'm gonna try. And you can skip from this first planet all the way to the final planet where Sorbetti the boss is. This is stupidly precise, and for a long time it was believed to be task only. So I'll give this like a minute or two of attempts. So right there I got 2 jumps in midair, which is not normally possible with the rock mushroom. And there I just escaped the planet's gravity field. So you basically want to do that, but with enough jumps in order to get to the boss planet. It's very, very difficult. And that's why I didn't do this in this run. Alright. The angle also has to be somewhat precise. Come on. Ah, that was close. I'll give it like one more good attempt and then I'll go ahead and cut it off. But you sort of get the idea of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do enough of those to get to that boss planet. Alright, here we go. Ah, I got so close again. I'm getting very close here. I'm trying to enter the gravity field of one of those 2 planets. I'm let me tell you, this is the hardest strat that has been implemented into any percent. I'm amazed that people are doing it in runs now, but... So let's give it like one more good attempt and then I'll go ahead and switch games. It's very hard to get chains going sometimes. Please? Alright. But you get the idea of what I was trying to do. So we're gonna throw it over to intermission. I gotta switch games here because I got another run immediately after this. So hope you enjoyed that Galaxy 2 run. And I will be back in just a few minutes with Pack and Roll Remix, which is another run you will not want to miss.